Hey guys. This is part 9 of What If Naruto was captured by Madara and went back in time with the tailed beasts. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 30. For Our Future. What the hell is going on? Tsunade yelled, startled by the sudden quake. She hastily opened her window and jumped outside, completely forgetting about Danzo in front of her. Outside, she was met by the sight of Gamaken, with Hiruzen, Jiraiya, Itachi, Sasuke and an unconscious, armless Naruto on Jiraiya's hands. She exclaimed in horror. My God! What the hell happened to you? You can take care of us later, princess. Jiraiya answered her by screaming back. Naruto hasn't eaten for 4 days. He's in a very dangerous condition right now. We did give him a dose of glucagon, but he won't be able to hold it if you don't do anything soon. Tsunade's eyes widened. She turned and barked into the air. Umbu! Go to the hospital and tell them to prepare the emergency protocol immediately. Then she turned back to the newly arrived shinobi, and only now did she realize who was among them. She snarled. You! Tsunade! Hiruzen quickly intervened. Let's get Naruto to the hospital first. He's in danger, remember? Hearing that, Tsunade reluctantly turned away, but not before throwing back another growl. Just remember, we're not done with this yet. Don't you dare running away. Then she leapt away toward the hospital, with Jiraiya right after her, still holding Naruto on his hands. Gamaken also disappeared in a puff of smoke, leaving the Hokage and the 2 Uchiha in the middle of the street where they had arrived. An awkward silence lingered in the air. Let's follow them, Itachi. Finally, Sasuke patted his brother's arm. No one noticed a single eye looking down from the window of the Hokage office. Naruto's condition was stabilized. He has escaped danger, but he will have to stay here for a few days for further observation. And what the hell happened with his arms? Tsunade demanded upon walking out of the emergency room. That would be because of the leader of the Akatsuki, Jiraiya said. Do you remember the 3 orphans I took up in Amigakure? Well, after I left, they went and formed the Akatsuki, and Nagato somehow became the leader, which is known as Pain, and… Tsunade clicked her tongue. I told you those kids were bad news. Jiraiya shook his head. Actually, they become like today partially because of that bastard Danzo. Nagato himself told us about that. He said that Danzo was the reason why the Akatsuki was born with the current purpose. Tsunade's eyes widened. So that's why that letter exists. Hiruzen, standing next to them, blinked. What letter? Tsunade showed him the letter addressed to Danzo from Salamander Hanzo. The Hokage's eyes darkened when he finished reading the letter. Danzo has gone too far this time. Tsunade nodded. Yes. And if this action of his leads to another Shinobi World War. Before your arrival, I was going to issue a sanction against him by taking over route, but… Tsunade was interrupted when Itachi and Sasuke walked into the corridor. What do you want now? She barked rather harshly at Itachi's face, making Sasuke next to him wince. I'm here to give you this. He took out a scroll from his pouch. This scroll contains Naruto-kun's left arm, which I managed to salvage from Pain. I couldn't recover the other one, so… Tsunade's eyes went cold. So you think bringing his arm back will help you win my favor? Itachi averted his gaze. Well, no. I just think that since I was the one who did this to him, I must do something to redeem myself, so… Tsunade opened her mouth, but suddenly stopped when Hiruzen's hand grabbed her shoulder. Tsunade, calm down, said the 3rd Hokage. He was the one who brought Naruto back here. At least he has the good intention. The legendary medic gritted her teeth, but still complied. She walked forward and took the scroll from Itachi's hand. Then with a sudden movement, she cocked her fist back and punched the Uchiha in the face. The man flew all the way across the corridor and slammed his back to the wall at the end with a sickening crunch. That's for kidnapping Naruto and leaving him in this state, you bastard! She yelled and turned away, disappearing behind the door leading to the operation room. Itachi pushed his body up painfully. The right side of his face was swelling up. That punch must have taken a few teeth in his mouth. You're lucky she didn't use her strength-enhancing technique. Jiraiya looked down on the Uchiha and noted. If she did, you wouldn't even have a face now. But really, I have to say that you deserve it, Itachi. Poor Itachi couldn't find a word to say. Or it was because his mouth was hurting so much. Speaking about that, Hiruzen walked up. Come to my office later, Itachi. There is something I have to say to you. Now I have some work to do. See you all later. Then he disappeared in a body flicker. So, should we go home? Asked Sasuke tentatively. Itachi didn't want to step foot into the place again. The memories about that fateful day were still too clear, too vivid inside his head. Even though it was not him who murdered the whole Uchiha clan in cold blood, he still couldn't deny the fact that it was him who had killed his own parents, right in that room. It's over, father. Everyone who follows you and your mad plan of taking over Konoha by force is executed. Please surrender, and I won't have to do this. Fugaku Uchiha shot a fierce stare at Itachi. So you decided to betray the clan, Itachi? To betray your own father? Itachi glared back at Fugaku, who was sitting before him next to his mother, whose face was holding a devastated expression. Why, father? Why does everything have to be like this? A real Uchiha has to give up everything for the sake of his clan, the Uchiha patriarch answered him with a disturbingly calm voice, and didn't even flinch when what obviously were the Mangekyo Sharingan in his son's eye sockets bore into his own eyes. If you betray the clan, you are not my son. This is why I said I had lost all my hope about this pathetic clan. Itachi snapped angrily, his eyes showing definite pain. Not everything in this world revolves around the Uchiha. Why couldn't you face it? You and all those people. Now I have understood. It wasn't the second who isolated us from the rest of the village. It was us who did that to ourselves, thinking that with the Sharingan we can dominate everything, that no one is equal to us. Then you can just kill me and be done with it, Fugaku Uchiha said simply and closed his eyes. Itachi raised his tanto. Tears dampened his face, rolling down his cheeks. Are you really sure you want things to happen like this? Fugaku's face didn't show any expression. Do it, he said. With a face full of anguish, Itachi closed his eyes and brought down his blade. Even walking back into the Uchiha district reminded him about things he didn't want to remember. He could still see it, as clear as day. Itachi walked out of his house, only to see a scene of carnage. What just happened here? Corpses of Uchiha clan members littered the ground. Walls were splattered with dark, red blood. There was absolutely no sound in the air, not even the flapping noise of a bird. It was a massacre. There was no other living person within the border of the Uchiha clan ground, except for Itachi himself, and the one standing over there. It was him. The one who massacred the whole Uchiha clan. He was standing there, holding a sharp, long kama, dripping with blood. You! Itachi snarled at the man in front of him. Or woman, it's hard to say which gender it was under that spiral mask. What have you done? Who are you? Come on now, Itachi-kun, the voice of the masked person rose mockingly. Now Itachi could identify it as the voice of a man. Isn't it your goal to get rid of the Uchiha clan? I just did that for you. You should have thanked me for that. How dare you? Itachi screamed. He drew his tanto and rushed the masked man, but his blade only passed through him harmlessly, as if he was made of air. What the? The masked man turned back to Itachi. And now, the young Uchiha could see what was lying within the hole on the mask. A Sharingan. I have to compliment you, Itachi-kun, the masked man said. You might be the most powerful Uchiha I've seen in this era. Although, that power was wasted in serving this pathetic village. If you go with me, you might have a chance to grow even more yet. Why should I even listen to you? Itachi demanded, pointing his blade at the masked man. Answering him was a creepy chuckle. Oh, but you don't have a choice. You will come to me, no matter what you want. Soon. But that's not what matters now. Your little brother is coming home, and you will have to find a reason to explain for this carnage. Until then. Then, to Itachi's horror, space around the masked man started to twist. A wormhole opened in the air, and the killer disappeared inside it, but not before throwing back the words the young Uchiha would remember for life. Remember, sooner or later you will serve under the great Madara Uchiha. You won't be able to escape your fate. What's wrong, Itachi? Itachi nearly jumped. He had completely forgotten that his brother was walking beside him. He shook his head. No, nothing, it's just. Sasuke raised his hand to touch his brother's arm. You're finally back home, right? There is nothing to worry about anymore. Itachi didn't say anything for a while. Then, he sighed heavily. I haven't told you about when I had to kill Mother, right? Itachi looked away from the corpse of his father on the ground. More like, he couldn't stand looking at it anymore. He looked at his mother, who was trembling like crazy on the ground. Mother, it's over. He walked towards her and reached out a hand. Mikoto Uchiha didn't take his hand. She just looked at the body of her husband lying motionlessly on the ground in a pool of blood with empty eyes. What is going to happen now? She mouthed, and Itachi cringed when he heard her voice. He had never thought for once that there would be a day when he had to hear his mother's voice so devastated, so hollow. It was like she had completely lost her will to live. Everything has ended, Mother. Itachi kneeled down, dropping his tanto next to him. Father's mad plan to take over Konoha by force was thwarted. The risk of a civil war is now averted. You and Sasuke won't have to worry about anything else. Is it really worth it? Itachi grabbed his mother's arm. Would you rather let Konoha be overthrown from the inside by father and his lackeys? Do you know what will happen? It will just be another Kyuubi attack. Many innocent people will die. Do you understand that? I understand. There was something in the voice of Mikoto which made Itachi feel suspicious. Then, but Fugaku is still my husband. Since I got married to him, he has become my purpose in life. Now that he's dead. In a split second, Itachi understood what his mother was going to do. He reached out for his sword, but it was too late. Mikoto was able to snatch the tanto out of the ground before he could even touch it. Splurt. It was just like watching a nightmare being played in slow motion. Itachi could only scream out when his mother, with the skill and flexibility of a veteran kunoichi, brought up the tanto and slashed herself across her own neck. Why? He muttered in shock and pain, cradling the body of his mother which was getting colder and colder in his hands, with blood spurting out from her neck. Why are you doing this? Take care of Sasuke, she croaked out. Her black eyes found her son's red irises, but after a second, the light in the depth of the dark pair vanished, and Mikoto Uchiha moved no more. The weight of what his brother had just said completely sent Sasuke into a loss of word. He couldn't even expect things to have happened that way. His father had always been someone who hungered for power, he knew, but the fact that his mother had committed suicide just because of sheer loyalty for him. There hasn't been a day I didn't think about that night. Itachi's voice sounded broken now. She died by my sword, and yet I couldn't do anything. That's no different from me killing her. I killed my own mother, when she didn't even do anything bad. What kind of son am I? He didn't say anything else and started crying in silence. Hearing someone like the always stoic Itachi Uchiha crying was just so heartbreaking. For a while, no one said anything. Then, Sasuke stood up and grabbed his brother's shoulder. You know what? I don't think you should torture yourself about that anymore. It's actually not your fault, isn't it? Itachi gritted his teeth in anguish. Sasuke, you can't understand. Murdering your own parents is the worst sin a human being can have. Now that I not only killed my own parents, I was also the reason why the whole Uchiha clan, full of innocent people, was completely massacred. You can't understand how hard it was just to walk into this clan ground. It made me think back of that night, that bloody night, and that man. Even though I met him every day during my time in the Akatsuki, I just couldn't. Even with these eyes. He punched the ground in anger and hopelessness. Sasuke closed his eyes for 5 seconds. And at the 6th, his grip on Itachi's shoulder tightened. Then teach me. Itachi shook his head. Sasuke, help me become stronger, Sasuke insisted. In the future there will be a time we have to face that man. But this time, you will not have to face him alone. I will be with you, standing next to you as an equal, as a member of the Uchiha clan, and we will face him together, proclaim justice for the clan together. Itachi looked up at his brother. Together. Yes, Sasuke said with a small smile. After all, we are brothers, right? The older Uchiha couldn't say anything for a while. And then, with the first smile ever since he set foot into the compound, he grabbed his brother's hand. Yes. We are brothers. Sakura was utterly confused when she heard Tsunade summoning her to the hospital. She had asked to be the legendary medic's apprentice right after returning to the village from the search, but the Sannin just brushed her off, saying that she needed to consider it first. And now she's calling her to the hospital, to where she was working. Sakura gulped. Raising her hand, she knocked at the door. Come in, the voice of Tsunade came out from inside the room. Hesitantly, she opened the door and walked in. Tsunade-sama, how can I help you? Ah, finally you're here. Tsunade closed the book she was reading shut and stood up. There is something I want to say to you. Now sit. Sakura sat down on the chair in front of Tsunade's desk. Her mind started getting worried. Why was the vibe of the room suddenly getting so serious? Tsunade-sama, she asked tentatively, is there something wrong? Tsunade didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked all over Sakura, as if contemplating something. Then she asked, before you asked me to make you my apprentice. Is that right? Sakura blinked. Yes, but... Tsunade smiled. Then today I have something for you to do. You have studied about medical jutsu and its practice, right? When Sakura nodded, Tsunade pulled out a scroll from her drawer. Do you know what this is? Sakura shook her head. The medic nodded, and opened the scroll. Inside, there was a sealing formula with the kanji seal. This sealing scroll contains one of Naruto's missing arms. I am going to reattach it to him, when his condition is better. Right now, he is too weak to handle the surgery. Naruto has returned? Sakura exclaimed in surprise. But why? That, even I haven't known fully yet. Tsunade shook her head. But what is going to happen is that I'm going to do the surgery myself, but I will need assistance. You are someone who has learned about the medical art, so are you up to the task? Me? Sakura blinked, startled. But I mean, I have only trained in medical jutsu for a few months. I don't have as much experience as Shizen-san or the other doctors. Tsunade smiled. Just consider this a test. You want to become a medic, am I right? So I will need to know if you have what it takes to become one. Depending on the result, I will consider if I can accept you as my apprentice. So, are you up to the task? She asked again, looking straight into Sakura's eyes. Sakura gulped. This was too sudden, but for some reason, she didn't feel any fear or hesitation. The feeling she was having, it was more like thrill. This was the chance for her to do it, to have a way to become stronger, more useful, and a chance for her to help Naruto. Yes, I am. Naruto was walking through his mindscape. In the heat of the battle with pain, he had completely forgotten this, but now when he finally remembered, he could not ignore this work anymore. His legs stopped in front of a giant cage. He reached up to the lock by his right hand and touched it. The lock glowed, and started opening. Yes, in his mindscape, Naruto still had both his arms. Don't ask why or how. The lock opened completely with a loud crack, and the door of the cage swung open. Oni-chan. The next thing Naruto knew was that he was engulfed in a sea of white, slimy flesh. Ack. Saikyo-chan, it's nice to see you too. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, the slug cried out while pulling Naruto even further into her body. Hearing the words coming all around him in her voice was so heartbreaking. Naruto really wanted to say something, that it wasn't her fault, there's nothing for her to apologize about, but considering what was happening to him, choking out even a word was difficult enough already. Then again, how could he even be suffocated inside his own mind anyway? After a while, Saikyo released him, although her body was still trembling with emotion. Saikyo-chan, finally, after managing to catch his breath, Naruto patted the slug's tail kindly. There is no need to say sorry, you just did what needed to be done, you know. But she sniffled. Slug doesn't have tears, but considering the uncontrollable tremble her body was getting through, Naruto could only assume that she was really crying. I nearly killed you. If you didn't, stop me at that time. But I'm still alive, and that's everything matters to me, Naruto only said simply. You saved me, and I'm thankful for that. I actually only care that much, you know, he finished with a grin. Thank you, Saikyo-chan. Still as blunt as ever, and Naruto? The two turned, and saw the other tailed beasts walking toward them. Guys! Naruto exclaimed brightly. I have to say, this time you did a very good job, Naruto, Aisabu commented. Managing to escape a wielder of the Rinnegan is definitely not something to be underestimated, you know. Naruto's face fell immediately. How can you call that a good job, Aisabu? he said miserably. I couldn't do anything to make Nagato turn his head. I couldn't even do anything to stop Orochimaru from reviving himself. And that utter defeat against Itachi. To be fair, you cannot call the battle against Itachi an utter defeat, Goku noted. Even someone like me will have to say that during that fight you have done pretty well against someone who is way more experienced, way more skilled than you, like that Uchiha boy. Had that fight been longer by about 10 more minutes, you would have won. Don't try to cheer me up, guys, Naruto said glumly. I know that even with all those training, I'm still not strong enough. If only I have more power. Oh, what matters isn't how much power you have, but rather what you have and how you use it, Naruto. I know that. Naruto snapped at Koko, who had just said those words, in frustration. But right now, I feel like I don't even have anything. Even my arms. The horse raised an eyebrow. Really? Or maybe you actually have that power, it's just because you don't know that you have it? Naruto blinked. What do you mean? I have a power I don't know I have. Of course you do, Koko let out a chuckle. If you are still wondering, think back to the battle with Pain. Naruto thought back. At this time, when his life was in danger, a miracle had happened. The shining mirror of Amaterasu, coming from nowhere to protect him. But... Koko smiled. It seems you understood. Congratulations, Naruto, you have unlocked the power of the regalia of the soul. Silence filled the air in Naruto's mindscape. What the hell is that regalia of the soul thingy? Shikaka asked, confused. Koko didn't give a straight answer. Rather, he asked, do you remember when Father created us, he gave each of us some of his special abilities? When everyone nodded, the horse continued. What you guys don't know is that wasn't the only thing he gave us tailed beasts. When Father gave birth to us, he already expected something like this might happen, and he gave each of us a hidden ability, as a fail-safe in case things goes wrong. That is what the regalia of the soul are, weapons whose power comes from the tailed beasts themselves, legendary equipments with power surpassing even the most powerful weapons in the planet. The ultimate power a Jinchuriki, or rather, a partner of a tailed beast, can achieve, when their souls finally synchronize as one. Wow, Naruto marveled in awe. So it means some other Jinchuriki have achieved it before? No. Since the time our father created us from the 10 tails, you are the first and the only one who has ever achieved such a feat. That piece of information nearly made Naruto lose his balance. Wait, what? I thought you guys have a very close bond with other Jinchuriki, like B or Fu already? Koko nodded. Indeed, some of the Jinchuriki might have already formed a close bond with us, but there is still another requirement for a Jinchuriki in order to be able to unlock the power of the regalia. He or she has to master creation of all things. And since the beginning of the shinobi world, you are the only one besides our father who managed to reach this level. The ones with the bond deep enough didn't have access to the technique, and the ones who knew the technique just didn't have a deep enough bond. Although, I have to admit, some of them might be very close to unlock the regalia as well, like Fu, for example. And your affinity seems to focus on weapons only, but since the regalia of the soul are all weapons. Wait a second. If that's the case, why does no one of us even know about it? Matatabi voiced her question. Koko shook his head. Even I don't know everything about it. When we were born, the only thing about it I was informed by Father was the name of the technique, and how to achieve it. He didn't even mention what it was or what it could do. So, I think this is what you have to figure out on your own, Naruto. Naruto facepalmed. Another thing I have to figure out on my own. Great, just great. First the flying thunder god, now this. When I don't even have a clue what I'm doing. It might take years before I could. He broke off. His face suddenly tensed up, alarmed. And without a warning, he disappeared from his mindscape. What the? Exclaimed Shikaku in surprise. Why did he? Naruto's eyes snapped open. Right in front of him, standing next to his bed, were 3 cloaked human figures. Each of them was wearing a blank porcelain mask. You! A hand clamped his mouth with a handkerchief full of chloroform smell, and immediately, he didn't know anything else other than darkness. Sakura sighed. Even though she's thrilled to be in the operation room to help Naruto regain his arm, for some reason, she still felt a little bit worried. She's still an inexperienced medical trainee, if she messed up something in the process. Well, better go let Naruto know about that first, she guessed. Her hand reached the doorknob to Naruto's recovery room. Then suddenly, she heard something fall inside the room. Her senses immediately went overdrive. She kicked the door open without holding back anything, and saw it. There were 3 human figures wearing blank, white masks standing next to the recovery bed, and one of them was holding something on his shoulder, which looked like the body of an unconscious Naruto. "What the hell are you doing with Naruto?" she screamed, and launched herself towards the 3 kidnappers with a jet step. But before she could even reach them, one of the assailants had moved into her way and aimed a swift kick at her face. She immediately raised her arms to block, and the feet crashed at her forearms, sending her back a few steps. "Go ahead," the one intercepting Sakura told his partners. His voice was cold and emotionless, which sent chill down Sakura's spine. "I'll deal with her." The 2 other kidnappers nodded, then with Naruto on the shoulder of one of them, they jumped out of the windows and landed right in front of Hinata, Fu and Karen, who were on the way to the hospital to visit Naruto after knowing he was back. Shanaru! A loud crashing sound of glass breaking, and the remaining kidnapper flew out of the window and landed on the ground with a backflip. Sakura also landed with a thud on the ground in front of him. "Hinata, Fu, Karen! Those guys kidnapped Naruto. Stop them!" But her command was redundant. Immediately after seeing the 2 figures landing in front of them, the 3 other girls already knew what was going on, and they reacted as quickly as a ninja should be, slipping into their battle stances and surrounded the 3 kidnappers. "Who are you?" Fu demanded, pointing at the 3 kidnappers. "What business do you have with Naruto-kun? Why are you kidnapping him?" Answering her was a cold, calculative silence when the 3 figures prepared themselves for battle. Karen's eyes narrowed. Being a former kunoichi of Kyuzugakure, read, Otogekure, she knew what a dangerous enemy felt like. They usually don't talk much, but each of their moves will bring deadly consequences to their opponents. And these guys were just like that. They're silent, they're shady, and how deadly they were, only God could know. Hell, they had managed to kidnap Naruto in his sleep without him being able to do anything. Why, and how could these people appear in the middle of Konoha and no one even batted an eye was beyond her fathoming. And the worst thing is, they didn't even show a sign of emotion. Even after being surrounded, they just didn't show any reaction, as if this was something they did every day. It's just like, they don't have any emotion at all. No wonder why Naruto couldn't realize them coming at him, even with his emotion-sensing ability. And that was the reason why rushing in recklessly was suicidal. All 4 of them were just genin. If these 3 knew just the most basic things about teamwork, they might be stomped to the ground without a chance to raise their hand. The only reasonable way they could do this was to separate them. Karen shot a glance toward Hinata. For some reason, since she became an official shinobi of Konoha, she had formed an odd friendship with the shy Hyuga girl. They usually hanged out together, and somehow they could understand each other better than any other girls. They even trained with each other a lot, and as such, they had been very familiar with each other's skills, and even created some new techniques together. As if understanding what she was thinking, Hinata turned to her and nodded. And it seemed Fu and Sakura had also understood her intention, because they suddenly tensed up and looked at the 3 assailants with a calculating eye. She looked at Fu. The Jinchuriki looked back at her, and she understood what was in that look. "Just do as we always practice. Go!" With a loud cry, Karen threw what she was holding on her hand toward the 3 enemies like a baseball. The force of the throw wasn't very strong, it just fell in front of the 3 kidnappers harmlessly. Or so they thought before they realized what the object actually was. A grenade. Scatter! The 3 enemy shinobi hastily jumped out of the way, and the grenade exploded with a deafening bang. No doubt a lot of shinobi would be alerted and come to the hospital right away. TCH. Then from inside the cloud of smoke emerged something which surprised them even more. Fu, with a pair of wings growing out of her back, had charged through the smokescreen, aiming for the one carrying Naruto. But the enemy shinobi proved that they're not just normal cannon fodders. With a very quick movement, the one carrying Naruto deftly tossed his baggage to one of his partners. Fu managed to ram him and push him away from the other 2, but their target was recovered. Now all they had to do was getting away. Losing one of them wasn't at all important. What mattered was to bring the target back to their master. Escape this, bastards! Shanaru! No. They didn't forget about the 3 other girls. They just didn't expect Karen. In just a moment after throwing the grenade, to be able to get to Sakura and toss her toward them. And the loud crack coming out from the gauntlet-like device on Sakura's fists definitely wasn't anything good for them. Immediately, the one not holding Naruto left his comrade's side and changed his target to the girl flying toward them. His hands flipped through some hand seals, and his body was instantly covered in a very thick armor of rock. Sakura's cartridge-enhanced punch met the rock armor, and despite being protected so thoroughly, the shinobi was still sent flying far away from his partner. Not wasting even a split of a second, right upon touching the ground, Sakura launched herself following the flying enemy with a jet step full of vengeance, determining to capture him at all costs. Leaving the one holding Naruto alone. "You're not going anywhere." The one who said that was Hinata, who was now standing in front of the kidnapper with her Byakugan flaring up furiously. "You've picked the wrong people to mess with, you bastards." Karen also walked up behind him, cracking her knuckles. "I will never forgive you for trying to kidnap my little brother." "Why do these guys want to kidnap Naruto? What did he do to them?" "Beats me. Maybe he messed with them with his pranks or something?" Fu was sweating. Just by trading a few blows, she already knew that she was facing a very dangerous foe. Being a Jinchuriki, with the total cooperation of the tailed beast inside her, Fu knew she had tremendous power in her possession. But no matter how much power she had inside, when it came to skill, she was just at the level of a Chunin at best. And the man she was facing had to be at least ANBU level. His taijutsu and ninjutsu were both way more advanced than that of a normal Chunin level shinobi. They could very well have been able to match that of Anko-sensei. And the way he moved, it was so firm, so experienced, as if he had been a shinobi for all his life. And that's what made Fu worried. She knew that even people with extreme power could lose against ones with more skill and experience. Just remember the battle between Naruto and Itachi to see. But that wasn't what she should worry about now. What mattered was that she had to bring him as far away from the others as possible. She clapped her hands together, and the wings on her back flared up with golden and red chakra, just like the color of sunfire. "Fire style, heat wave!" she yelled, flapping her fiery wings. From there, a wave of scorching air blasted out toward the enemy shinobi. The heat coming from the chakra flare was so terrifying all the grass on its way withered away in an instant, and the masked shinobi was forced to conjure a wall of water in front of him to block. The wave of hot air clashed against the water wall, making a loud hissing noise. A very thick cloud of steam covered the battlefield. Fu grinned. This was exactly what she was waiting for. Against a more experienced enemy, any advantage a shinobi could gain was always welcome. And with Fu, the Jinchuriki of the seven-tailed beetle Chome, that advantage was the disturbance of vision. Not everyone knew about this fact, but being together with Chome since she was born, Fu possessed a rather peculiar ability to be able to hear and single out the sound of insects flapping wings. Before, when she first clashed against the kidnapper, she had planted a few bugs on the cloak he was wearing, and now, with the very tiny sound those bugs were sending out, she could know exactly where the enemy was standing, while with all the steam covering his vision and the sound of flapping coming from her wings echoing around, the masked kidnapper had no way to figure out where she was. And there he was, standing helplessly inside the screen of steam, seemingly not being able to do anything else. But right at that time, she felt something wrong. She immediately snapped her head down and saw it. A horde of insects were crawling up her legs, and seemingly sucking her chakra off her body, while pumping something else into it. Her eyes widened. She could realize this immediately, anytime, anywhere. One of her newest friends in the Konoha 15 was Shino, an Aburame clan member, a specialist in using insects as a weapon. The Kikai insects he used were very similar to these ones crawling up her legs, but at the same time, lingering within the swarms were some other, larger bugs Fu hadn't seen before. And her legs were starting to feel numb. Those strange insects must have been poisonous. The shinobi inside the steam screen seemed to also understand that she had realized. He threw his right hand up, and from the ground, swarms of Kikai insects blasted up and starting to cover Fu's body. She immediately made the decision. Pulling at Komiai's chakra, she clapped her hands together. Insect noise! All the insects fell off Fu's body at once when a loud burst of supersonic buzzing noise blasted out from her wings. The sound wave swept through the hospital yard, and everyone hearing it all lost their balance for a moment. Not even stopping to take a breath, she lunged herself into the cloud of steam, where the enemy was standing. Even though her legs were disabled, she still had her wings. Her advance, powered by a tailed beast herself. There was no way someone using insect jutsu with a hive nearly drained from the attack before could stop it. Bam! The cloaked shinobi was sent flying into the wall. His back crashed into the flat surface with a painful thud. It seemed even he didn't expect the Jinchuriki girl to do something so recklessly and suddenly. But the moment passed as fast as it had come. He leapt back on his feet, ready to continue the battle. Well, it must be that you don't want to live anymore to mess with my student. All around the two combatants, snakes suddenly popped out from underground, surrounding the cloaked kidnapper. Now how am I going to deal with you, I wonder? Anko, the newcomer, stepped in with a maniacal grin. Anko-sensei! Fu exclaimed in relief. The cavalry had arrived. Now she wouldn't have to worry about anything else. The kidnapper backtracked a step. He knew he was overwhelmed in number. That girl, whom he still hadn't known the full extent of power, and a jonin who was infamous in Konohagakure as the Snake Mistress, former apprentice of the legendary Sannin Orochimaru himself. From his sleeve fell out something round and small. Anko's eyes widened. Watch out! The grenade exploded, drowning the three shinobi in a thick cloud of smoke. When it was cleared, there was no sign of the enemy shinobi anymore. Damn it! Ya! Sakura threw another punch at her opponent's face. But just like before, the attack was easily predicted and blocked by the cloaked shinobi. She backflipped a few steps, breathing heavily. Attacking with reckless taijutsu, even with the assistance of her jet step technique, was useless. Such an experienced enemy could predict what she was going to do and neutralize her attacks easily. Facing this shinobi somehow gave her a feeling of hopelessness. It was just like the first time she'd faced Kakashi together with Team 7. She shuddered when remembering about that battle. At that time, she couldn't even notice Kakashi sneaking up at her from behind. And he had knocked her out with just a simple genjutsu. It proved that the gap in power between a jonin and a genin was just too great. There's absolutely no chance if a genin-leveled shinobi had to fight solo against a jonin-leveled one. And this fight was just like that. The biggest problem with Sakura was her inferiority complex. Even after her rigorous training with her two teachers, she still couldn't shake off the feeling that she was weaker than other shinobi of her age completely. Therefore, she was easily to be intimidated when fighting against stronger, more experienced shinobi. And someone who specializes in psychology would definitely notice that and exploit that weakness. You're afraid. Even Sakura couldn't expect the shinobi to open his mouth. Huh! Your mind is in turmoil right now, the cloaked shinobi continued. You know that you are just a normal genin with less than average abilities. Your arms and legs are trembling. You know that your meager taijutsu techniques cannot even lay a finger on me. You just want to run away, right now. Sakura gritted her teeth. This was the tactic Niji had tried to use on her during their match in the Chunin exam. At that time, she had managed to shrug it off easily, but for some reason, this time she couldn't even lift her eyes off the cloaked figure in front of her. His voice was just hypnotizing. Unconsciously, she took a step back, as he continued advancing toward her. You know if you don't run away, I will kill you. Your eyes are glancing left and right, finding a way to escape. You are unconsciously retreating. You know that if you don't escape now, you won't have another chance. And he raised his hands, and Sakura immediately understood what he was going to do, but he was too close. There was no way she could escape. Mind disturbance jutsu. What just happened? Every thought and worry in Sakura's head seemed to have been wiped gently away, leaving her in a vague, untraceable happiness. She just stood there, feeling utterly relaxed, only dimly aware of the cloaked shinobi watching her. Then she heard the command of the masked shinobi, echoing somewhere within her empty brain. Draw the kunai. Kill yourself? Her hands reached into the weapon pouch and drew the kunai obediently, ready to stab herself in the stomach. For what reason? A dry, sarcastic voice suddenly awoke in the back of her brain. Sakura blinked drowsily. She knew this voice, it was hers. Or rather, her inner's. It had been a long time since she last heard that voice. What are you killing yourself for? Said the inner voice. It was stupid, really. How can you let yourself be controlled like this? Kill yourself. No, you won't, Inner's voice said more firmly. If you kill yourself here, you won't be able to fulfill your promise to Naruto, to Sasuke-kun, to become stronger, worthy of being in the same team with them. Are you going to abandon that promise of your life? Are you that worthless of a person? Don't underestimate me. Kill yourself? No. I am not your puppet. And the control of the shinobi over Sakura snapped like a bunch of twigs. He stumbled back, holding his head as if he was in excruciating pain. Being stunned, there was no way he could dodge the punch from Sakura, who was coming at him in a very fast speed, courtesy of an explosive second-shift jet step. Shanaru! The cartridge-boosted punch finally met the destination it had been directed to, the cloaked shinobi's face. The mask he was wearing shattered, and Sakura could catch a glimpse of blonde hair inside it before her fist landed squarely in his nose, shattering the bone inside it, and launched the shinobi away. His back slammed into the bark of a tree at the back of the yard, and he slumped down, defeated. She could hear loud yells calling her name from somewhere afar. Reinforcement had arrived, and she had defeated her own enemy. I did it, she said weakly, and finally, her strength was exhausted. She collapsed on the ground. Hinata and Karen eyed their opponent warily. Despite being surrounded, the lone kidnapper still didn't show even a slight thread of emotion. He just stood there, eyeing the two kunoichi from under his mask calmly, as if considering a way to eliminate them the most effectively without attracting too much attention. Even though this one seemed to be younger than the two others, it was still the look of a trained veteran assassin in his eyes, not of a normal shinobi. Then, with a sudden movement, he tossed Naruto to the ground and whipped out something from his sleeve. Following his hand, Karen could figure out the shape of something long, made of paper, a scroll. The mindset of a talented Uzumaki seal master in training immediately caused her to think that was a sealing scroll, just like what Tenten used to store her weapons and launch them like projectiles. Until she saw the content inside it. There was nothing inside. It was a completely blank scroll, and with the brush already out, Karen could figure out what he was going to do. Don't let him do anything with that scroll, Hinata! She yelled, and threw a handful of shuriken at the shinobi, who jumped out of the way to avoid them. At the same time, Hinata rushed in, and launched a very quick and precise gentle fist strike at a place where, while not lethal, would render a grown-up person unable to stand for a week at least. But her effort was just in vain. The shinobi, with an extravagant movement, managed to dodge the dangerous strike just narrowly, and jumped back before the two girls could even do anything else. His brush lashed out on the blank scroll, and Hinata's eyes widened when she saw what was appearing with an incredible speed on the white paper. She had heard Kurenai-sensei talking about people with this kind of ninja art, but to face a real one. From inside the scroll, two huge tigers made of ink shot out and jumped the two kunoichi like two real predators leaping at their exposed prey. Hinata grimaced. Her normal gentle fist strikes were no match for these creatures, but if she didn't do something, she would be killed for sure. Get back, Hinata! Hearing Karen's voice behind her, Hinata immediately understood what she must do. She leapt back right before the two tigers crash-landed right at the place where she had just stood, and from behind, two kunai with explosive tags struck the two ink creatures and destroyed them with two loud bang. Ink splattered everywhere. Now! Knowing that this was her chance, Hinata focused her chakra into the index and middle fingers of her right hand. Her father had taught her one of the more powerful techniques of the gentle fist art, the vacuum palm. It was a move requiring a forceful push of focused chakra from the hand of the user toward the enemy. It allowed a practitioner of the gentle fist style, which depends almost solely on close combat, to have a way to combat enemies from a distance. But the technique has a very troublesome drawback. If there's a lot of chakra focused into the technique, it would shoot out as a very fast and deadly projectile, but if the chakra focused into it was too little, the projectile would just be like a harmless ball thrown by an amateur pitcher, which was just a waste of chakra. And Hinata definitely didn't have enough chakra to fire something of that caliber. But she, together with her friends Karen and Fu, had found a way to get around that problem. Instead of focusing a lot of chakra into her palm, she would just do that into two of her fingertips. With the very high density of chakra in such a small area, it would increase the speed of the technique to an extreme level far surpassing the original technique. And if she added another step of spinning her stored chakra around her fingertips, just as Fu had suggested, it would give the technique a necessary stability and power, not unlike Naruto's Rasengan. 8 trigrams? Divine. Shoot her! She yelled, thrusting her index and middle fingers forward. The bullet of very dense, spinning like a typhoon. Chakra blasted out from her fingertips toward the masked shinobi with the speed of a bullet shot from a gun. Even though he could see it, there was no way his reaction could be fast enough to dodge it. He could only lean his body aside before the bullet arrived and tore apart a chunk of his torso. Hinata clapped her hands at her mouth, horrified. She knew her technique was effective, but she didn't expect it to be this effective. The shinobi stumbled back, before collapsing into a puddle of ink. What dash? Ink clone? Hinata's eyes widened. This kind of ink clone was similar to the water clone high-level shinobi tend to use, as in their solid clones, but that still didn't make sense. The Byakugan were supposed to see through the clone as it was only a chakra construct, not something like Naruto-kun's shadow clones, unless. With the panoramic vision of the Byakugan, she saw the real kidnapper behind her. He had created an ink clone with the splattered ink on the ground, then substituted with it in just a split of a second. That's the reason why he could avoid the X-ray vision of the Byakugan. The one she was supposed to attack had actually been the real one after all, but the movement was so fast she couldn't react to pull back. A tanto was coming down at her shoulder in a deadly arc. She still couldn't use the rotation technique, despite Niji Nizan and her father training her so hard in it. But she had to try her best if she didn't want to be killed. Then suddenly, the assailant stopped dead on his track. More like, he was stopped. Around his legs, arms and body, chains made of chakra was coiling around, restraining him from even moving a muscle. Weapon projection, adamantine attacking chains succeeded. From behind him, the voice of Karen rose triumphantly. The adamantine sealing chains jutsu is a very powerful sealing jutsu originated from the Uzumaki clan, which Orochimaru had always hungered for and tried to claim by taking in an Uzumaki. But despite being a pure-blood Uzumaki, to Orochimaru's disappointment and disgust, Karen hadn't been able to manifest it by herself, due to the fact no one knew about the technique enough to teach her how to use it. But during the time staying in Konoha with Naruto and trained with him and the tailed beasts themselves, with her powerful Uzumaki chakra, Karen had been able to learn the weapon projection jutsu Naruto created and somehow combined it with the very limited knowledge she had about the adamantine sealing chains to make her own version of the technique. Of course, it didn't have the power to restrain something like a tailed beast, but if it was a normal human being. And there, being locked in place, there was no way the kidnapper could dodge the incoming strike coming from Hinata, who was standing right in front of him. Only one step left until Hinata's hand reached him. Then suddenly the whole clearing was drowned in a sea of fire. The kidnapper, before Hinata could even touch him, had gone up in flame, and the blazing inferno immediately engulfed both him and the Hyuga princess in a deafening explosion. Poor Hinata didn't even have chance to react. "Hinata!" Karen screamed. Her fingers immediately went through hand seals faster than she had ever done before. Water style, water gun. "Oh, please, please, please. Please, Hinata, don't." The water jutsu extinguished the fire in no time, but the damages had been done. The smoke cleared, revealing a half-conscious Hinata lying in the middle of a crater made by the fireball. Her clothes and skin were burnt quite badly. The kidnapper was nowhere to be found. No, no, no. Forgetting everything else, Karen ran toward her friend and kneeled next to her body. "Don't you dare dying on me, Hinata. I won't be able to look Naruto in the eyes if you do that." She pulled up her sleeve and put her wrist near Hinata's mouth. "Here, Hinata. Bite me, quickly. It will help you heal. Come on." "Ugh. What happened?" That sound frightened Karen beyond anything she had experienced today. Naruto had woken up. Naruto groggily opened his eyes. The last few moments were a complete blank to him. The last thing he could remember was someone choking him with a piece of cloth full of a nasty smell. "Ugh, what happened?" He shook his head, trying to get back to his sense. Everything around him was foggy. The only thing he could see was two figures on the ground near him. "Naruto-kun." Wait, that voice. He shook his head again, and now he managed to clear his eyes. And he saw it. Lying on the ground was Hinata, half-conscious. Her clothes were tattered, and her body was full of horrible burn marks. Her right hand was still reaching toward him unconsciously. And kneeling next to her was Karen, who was trying her best to make Hinata bite her arm in a desperate attempt to heal the Hyuga princess. Everything seemed to fly away from him, become smaller in his view. He couldn't even draw a breath. Hinata was dying, and it was because of him. Everything from his past suddenly flashed back across his brain at the same time. Hinata, Sakura, everyone, dying, right in front of him, because of him. What have I? Why was the ground suddenly coming toward his face so fast? Naruto! Medic! Anyone! Please come here! How is Naruto-kun? That was the first question Hinata asked after she was brought back to consciousness. Tsunade, standing next to her bed, smiled. He is okay, little princess. As of now, I don't see any problem with his body. Although... She trailed off. Karen, who was sitting on a chair near Hinata's bed, asked in confusion. Although? What's wrong, Tsunade-sama? The legendary medic sighed. I don't know how to say this, but... It seems after seeing you girls, especially Hinata, being injured during that battle, Naruto's spirit was kinda broken. Even when I did the operation to reattach his arm, he didn't even show any sign of emotion after he saw his arm back intact. That sounds bad. Fu, lying on her bed at a corner of the room, bit her lips. Tsunade nodded. Indeed. If thing doesn't change soon, Naruto won't even be Naruto anymore. Unfortunately, this is a problem of psychology. Even I don't know how to fix it. Then, it's Tsunade's time to bite her lips. We can only wait and hope for the best. What's the report, Kakashi? Kakashi shook his head. Nothing, Hokage-sama. Those shinobi retreated too quickly after being defeated by the 4 girls. Although, the girls could confirm that 2 of those shinobi used insect jutsu and mind jutsu, just like those of Aburame and Yamanaka clans. And the last one used some kind of painting ninjutsu. Hiruzen pondered. So those kidnappers might have been people of the Aburame and Yamanaka clans. But we cannot speak for sure yet. The Aburame and Yamanaka aren't the only clans which specialize in those kinds of ninjutsu after all. Still, just notice the 2 clans about this. Maybe we will have to ask for their help in order to find those kidnappers. Yes, sir. After Kakashi had been out of the room, the Hokage narrowed his eyes. Why did something like this suddenly happen right after he got back, but not before? It's just like someone knew Naruto was kidnapped, and just waited until he was brought back home to do it. The question was, who? He rapped his knuckle on the desk. An Anbu appeared in a gust of wind, bowing down to him. Sir. Bring me Danzo, and make sure that he comes here, the Hokage ordered. Yes, sir. Danzo pushed the door open and walked into the room. Hiruzen pointed at the chair in front of his desk. Sit, Danzo. What do you need me for, Hiruzen? The bandaged man came straight into question without bothering of beating around the bush. Recently, Naruto Uzumaki was ambushed in an attempt to kidnap him. When he was resting in the hospital, the Hokage looked straight into Danzo's visible eye. Do you have anything to do with that? Danzo calmly met the stare of the Hokage, not even flinching a bit. Why do you think I'm related to that incident? The stare of Hiruzen hardened. The fact that Naruto was captured during his mission is something only people within the village know about. And no one knows that he would return today, except for the ones involved and a very small number of people who were at the scene at that time. And I heard from Tsunade that you were in this room at that time, am I correct? Yes, Danzo answered curtly. So? Then you should be someone who knew about his arrival. So you might as well have. The bandaged man cut in abruptly. Do you have any proof that I have anything to do with that? Remember, that is a very serious accusation, and as the Hokage, you shouldn't be doing things like that without any conclusive evidence. Just like Tsunade did, he pushed at the Tsunade word with a sneer. The Hokage looked at Danzo's face with a calm, calculating gaze. Then, he asked, So you're saying you don't know anything about that incident? That's true, the bandaged man nodded. Now, if there's nothing else. Sit down, Danzo. I didn't say I was finished yet. Danzo scowled. Now what? Hiruzen threw a piercing glare at the leader of Root. Do you know that you are the reason why the world is on the verge of the Fourth Shinobi World War right now? I don't know what you are talking about, Danzo said, glaring back at the Hokage. I had a conversation with the leader of the Akatsuki when I went rescue Naruto, said Hiruzen coldly. He stated you were the one who was behind the death of his friend years ago, and as a result, the purpose and MO of the Akatsuki was changed from a peaceful mercenary group into what they're having at the moment. And this letter proved that what he said was the truth. He pulled out the letter Tsunade gave him before. So what do you have to say about that, Danzo? Is there anything wrong with what I did? Danzo retorted. It was war, and in a war, death is inevitable. If that so-called leader of the Akatsuki doesn't know that, then he doesn't deserve to be a ninja. This village is getting weaker because of that stupid ideal of peace in your head, Hiruzen, and I am the one who has to prevent that from happening. The thing is, you don't have the right to do what you did, Hiruzen declared with a chilling voice. You are not the Hokage. You don't have the right to do anything related to diplomatic military action. That is still the privilege of the Hokage, and I'm afraid you have gone too far this time. I hereby retract your right as the leader of Root, and from now on that branch of the ANBU will be under my control and supervision. Danzo growled. That foolish idea again. No, it's not foolish, Danzo, Hiruzen shot back, staring straight into the visible eye of Danzo. Konohagakure has long been away from the tradition of doing underhanded things to get to the top in the shinobi world. Just think about it. How many wars have this village and the world in general had to suffer from? No one in this world wants to get themselves through a war anymore. Someone who still clings to that ideal, that war is the only way to prove the power of a village, doesn't have anywhere to stand in the world nowadays. Danzo stood up. His features were thick with rage. This is your final word? I'm afraid so, said Hiruzen, also standing up. Then we have nothing else to say to each other. No, nothing, Hiruzen said calmly. But you are a smart man, so you should have learned from Orochimaru's mistake. You might have noticed that he was killed once and doesn't even have a village to return to anymore, but I'm still here, as the Hokage. If I were you, I wouldn't do anything foolish. Danzo didn't answer. He just turned his back and disappeared through the door. Hokage-sama, are you summoning me? Hiruzen smiled when he saw Itachi walked into his chamber. Ah, Itachi. Indeed, I called you here because I have something to tell you. Come in, and close the door. After Itachi had shut the door behind him, the Hokage said, I trust you know what we're going to talk about today. The Uchiha grimaced. It's about my punishment, isn't it? The Hokage nodded. Indeed. About what you did to Naruto, I'm afraid I cannot turn a blind eye. Therefore, I already thought of a suitable punishment for you, Itachi. Itachi closed his eyes. Very well, Hokage-sama. I'm ready to face any kind of punishment you want to impose on me. Hiruzen nodded again. Good. Then, your first punishment is that from now on, you are stripped of your shinobi status. You cannot take any mission as a shinobi of Konohagakure, you are not allowed to take any hostile action within and will not go out of the border of the Land of Fire unless there is permission from me. Is that clear? Very clear, Hokage-sama. Itachi bowed in acceptance. Then he blinked. But Hokage-sama, you said first. So that means… Yes, Hiruzen smiled. The second punishment for you, Itachi, is that I will proclaim the true reason and meaning behind the Uchiha massacre for the whole Konohagakure to know. Itachi's head snapped up as if he was just shocked by thousands of volts of electricity. What? Hokage-sama, you can't. Ah, Itachi, I can, and I will, the Hokage chuckled. After all, this is the most suitable punishment for you, any? So are you going to accept it, or do I have to declare you treason and execute you in place? Itachi gritted his teeth. He knew he was defeated, and there was nothing else he could do but to hang his head. I accept, Hokage-sama. Good. Then dismiss. Have a good day, Itachi. The Uchiha bowed again, and retreated from the room, closing the door behind him. You're evil, sensei. Hiruzen chuckled. Why are you saying so, Jiraiya? The Toad Sage appeared in the room from thin air, dispelling his transparency jutsu. Do you even need to ask? Was someone like Itachi, doing something like that to him was even worse than killing him, you know. I know, the Hokage nodded. But frankly, he deserves it in both ways. This might be a very big shock in his life, but it will help him escape from the dark past he has already had to suffer for a long time, and at least allow him to live in Konoha as a normal person. That's the only thing I can do for him now. And not allowing him to work as a shinobi might help Tsunade have the time to develop a cure for the degradation of his Mangekyo Sharingan, which might be a very important asset for us in the future. Remember, we still have a whole war waiting for us. The two men looked out the windows, where they could see Itachi walking down the street, further and further away from the Hokage Tower. Let's just hope you're right, Sensei, the Toad Sage sighed. How is he, Hinata? The Hyuga princess shook her head sadly. The other members of the Konoha 15 had been trying to get in to meet Naruto for 2 days straight. But no matter when and how hard they tried, their effort was in vain. Naruto just simply refused to meet anyone. The only people who were allowed to see him were Tsunade and the nurses, and even they could only shake their heads after coming out of the room. Well, at least we still know that his left arm is back to normal, Tenten said in an attempt to cheer the others up. That won't help much if he just locks himself up in that room like that, Ino pointed out. If this continues, there might be a chance he could go out and kill himself in despair. The other Konoha shinobi looked at her, horrified. What? The Yamanaka raised an eyebrow. That is a very common consequence in the case of a depression and mental breakdown victim. My family specializes in things like this, you know. Naruto's not going crazy, Sakura yelled at her friend. Shikamaru shook his head. This is such a drag, but if something isn't done soon, there might be a chance Naruto will go crazy for real. Karen nodded with a sad frown. Yeah. And tomorrow? Everyone looked toward the direction of Naruto's room in worry. No one noticed Sasuke's hands curling up into fists. Naruto was staring out of the window. His empty eyes swept across the hospital yard. In the morning, Hinata, Sakura, Karen and Fu had fought there, to save him from some kidnappers. His stomach twisted up when he thought about the fight. If he hadn't been so useless, then Sakura, Fu and Hinata wouldn't have been injured so badly. Tears started flowing down his cheeks. He curled his now working left hand up and punched the mattress in anger and despair. All the power, all the training he had, what good did they even do? Then he nearly jumped when the door into his room was kicked open suddenly. He snapped his head back, but before he could even see anything, a hand had grabbed the neck of his hospital gown and pulled him toward the window. What the hell dash? Sasuke, release me. Now. Yes, the one who had just kidnapped Naruto out of his hospital room was no one else but Sasuke Uchiha. He was pulling the blonde by the neck of his hospital gown across the village. Hearing Naruto's complaint and struggle behind him, the Uchiha just threw back a glare and jumped even faster roof over roof. Finally, the two shinobi landed at Training Ground 7. Only there did Sasuke release Naruto and shove him to the ground. What the? Fight me. What the Uchiha had just said completely took Naruto aback. What? I want to fight you. Right here, right now, Sasuke repeated, more harshly than before. Naruto growled. Why should I? I don't have any reason to fight you. Maybe you don't, but I do. Naruto had to scramble back on his feet when Sasuke suddenly leapt toward him and delivered a brutal kick at his face. What the hell is wrong with you? Naruto shouted. I don't want to fight you. Oh, you will fight me now, Naruto, Sasuke shouted back. Or are you so much of a coward you don't have the courage to lift a finger against me? Those words made Naruto's blood boiled. Say what? That's right, Sasuke continued. His eyes flared up into the shape of the Sharingan. Even with all those power in your possession, you, at the end, are just a coward. Stop calling me a coward! Naruto roared and kicked the ground, leaping at Sasuke. He threw a punch toward the Uchiha with his newly reattached left fist, but thanks to the Sharingan, the sluggish move was just like a joke to him. He leaned aside, avoiding the punch easily, and delivered a brutal backhand with his left knuckles to Naruto's face. The blonde Jinchuriki stumbled back painfully. His left cheek was swelling up. Oh yeah? But it seems your words and your action doesn't go together, mocked Sasuke. Naruto screamed out in rage, and launched himself toward the Uchiha again. I'll show you, bastard! Sakura was horrified. She had seen her two teammates dragging each other toward Training Ground 7. She didn't know why, but when she decided to call them, there was something which seemed to hold her back. Therefore, she just followed them all the way to the training ground. But when the two boys started fighting each other, she knew she couldn't hold back anymore. She walked out from behind the tree she was hiding at, opened her mouth. Before a hand grabbed her shoulder. She whirled back, and realized that the one who was holding her back was Kakashi. Don't, the Jonin shook his head. This is what those two must resolve by themselves. Besides, didn't you have something more important to do? Sakura opened her mouth to protest, but Kakashi gave her an eye smile. Don't worry, just leave them to me. I promise I will intercept if something goes out of control, okay? The sound of steel clashing against steel echoed through the air. This is really everything you have? Sasuke said while easily deflecting the blade of Naruto's projected weapon with his katana. You're just as pathetic without relying on the power of your tailed beast friend. Shut up! Naruto roared then, holding the crude sword he had projected in a reverse grip, he aimed a slash at Sasuke, who jumped back to avoid the blade from cutting him in half at the waist. Not wasting a second, Naruto flicked his hand, and the reverse grip switched back to the normal grip before he threw the sword at the Uchiha, who slashed it away with his own katana. That moment was enough for Naruto to retreat, distancing himself from Sasuke. The two boys glared at each other for a few seconds. Then, suddenly, Sasuke sheathed his katana. I'm disappointed, he said. You're not worth considering a rival of mine anymore. Those words stabbed Naruto harder than any sword in the world could do. What are you saying? The Naruto I used to know isn't like you, Sasuke continued coldly. The Naruto I used to know never loses himself over any reason. And now, look at you, drowning yourself in depression, locking yourself in a room, not even bother trying to walk outside to meet anyone. Is that what you are these days, showing a depressed, sad face to make people pity you? I don't want people to pity me, Naruto roared. His fingernails clutched the skin of his hand so hard they drew blood. It's just, I have sworn that I won't let anyone get hurt because of me anymore, and yet, the girls, they still. The best thing for them is to stay away from me, as far as possible, that way they will not be in danger anymore. For a moment, there was no response from Sasuke. Then, I can't believe you're such a bastard. Naruto blinked. Huh! Their being hurt isn't even your fault at all, Sasuke pointed his finger at Naruto. The decision to jump in to protect you was of those girls themselves, not you. They already knew the worst possibility when they decided to battle those kidnappers. That was what those girls themselves told me. And yet they still jump in, despite all the dangers, just because their feelings for you exceed even their deepest, biggest fear, exceed even death itself. They love you, no, everyone loves you, and cares for you with all their hearts. And at the same time, you decided to lock yourself in that room, thinking that you are some kind of god, and only you can decide what is best for other people. You don't have the right. Those words from Sasuke just like a slap to Naruto's face. You don't understand anything. Sasuke didn't let him finish his sentence. With a very quick body flicker, he appeared in front of Naruto and delivered a brutal punch straight at Naruto's nose. Not expecting the sudden move, Naruto couldn't dodge quickly enough, and the punch hit him full in the face. Blood flew everywhere. Yes, I don't understand. The Uchiha barked at his face. I only know that since the time I joined Team 7, what I hate the most are ones who dishonor people who help them, who spit on the effort others spent for them. If that's what you are, then you might as well die, because this village, this world doesn't need someone as cowardly, as ungrateful as you. Once again, Naruto felt like he was slapped in the face again. But for some reason, this time he didn't feel angry or afraid anymore. Because he had finally understood what Sasuke was telling him. To tell the truth, he had never thought about that before. Even after he was blasted into the past, everything he thought about was to protect his precious people from the fate they had suffered during his time. He had thought that with the power of the tailed beast in him, it was his duty to do what he thought was the best for everyone. Jiraiya had once told him, if he just tried to force everything to follow his way, he would be no better than Madara himself. And yet he still didn't realize it. He didn't realize that this world didn't just revolve around him and Madara. There were still other people who were always ready to stand beside him, to help him whenever they could. That's what made him different from Madara. Sasuke. Thank you? The Uchiha boy, who was turning to walk away, stopped on his track. What? Naruto pushed himself up. On his bloody face was the biggest grin he'd ever had. I finally realized how stupid I was. I know I cannot do anything without my friends, but now I know that is actually my strongest point. Sasuke didn't give him an answer. Instead, the Uchiha just smiled, and with a few jumps, he distanced himself from Naruto. Then show me. From afar, he yelled at Naruto. His right hand moved forward in front of him, and within his palm, lightning chakra started gathering. Show me that it's actually what you mean from your heart, that everything you've just said wasn't just empty words. Naruto smiled. He reached out his intact hand, and a Rasengan started forming in his palm. Bring it on, Sasuke. When the two jutsu clashed against each other once again, Naruto felt, for the first time since his return to the past, that he had nothing to worry about anymore. Yeah, why should he, when he already had all of his friends behind him, to help him whenever he needed? You're such a big bastard, you know that? Not as big as you. The two boys were now sprawling on the ground, completely exhausted. You really didn't have to tell me off like that, you know, Naruto scowled, his eyes still stared up into the sky. Sasuke snorted. If I didn't do that, how could I snap you out of depression? The two boys didn't say anything for a while. Then, they suddenly burst into laughter, at the same time. A shared hearty, relaxed laughter. So, let's go home, huh? After a while, when they had managed to stop laughing, Naruto said. Sasuke grinned, then grabbed Naruto's hand. Yeah. Let's go home. This is not the only surprise for you today, I tell you. Naruto pushed open the gate leading into the yard of his house. For some reason, he felt that there was something wrong with the house today. It was already night, Karen was supposed to be home now, so why was the house still so dark? Then suddenly, he saw it, at the corner of his eye. There was definitely something moving in the window opening out of the kitchen. Thief! His thought immediately jumped into conclusion. Forgetting all restraint, he kicked the door open, rushing into the kitchen. Surprise! And saw it. On top of the dinner table, there was a very big cake with 13 lighted candles sitting on the top. Around the kitchen, ribbons of all colors covered the wall, together with balloons and flowers. And around the dinner table stood all the Konoha 15, together with Kakashi, Jiraiya, Tsunade, the Ichiraku family, Irika, and the Hokage himself. What the? You idiot! Sakura came toward him from the table and bopped his head. You even forgot your own birthday already? His birthday, oh. Today was October 10th, the day Tobi summoned Kurama to attack the village and nearly destroyed it. In this day each year, Naruto would rather lock himself in his apartment than go out, and he usually tried his best to forget about it, so it's natural that he didn't remember his own birthday. It was Hinata who told us about this, Ino said, wagging her finger. She was the only one who noticed that you haven't had a decent birthday party in your life. So, this should be your first birthday party. Cheer up. Yeah, Naruto. The other ones also cheered. Come here and blow the candles. Naruto walked toward the table as if he was hypnotized. This was just like a dream to him. All around him was his friends, holding a party for him to celebrate his own birthday, what he had wished for all his life. Then he remembered something. He snapped his head back at Sasuke, who was standing at the door. You knew all about this, don't you? The Uchiha only answered him with a smirk and a HN. Suddenly Naruto felt tears in his eyes. But this time, they were not tears of sadness or despair. They were tears of absolute, uncontrollable happiness. Thank you everyone, he sniffled. This means a lot to me, really. Oh, come on, man! Kiba's voice boomed next to his ears, and he felt a hand slapping his back so hard he nearly dropped his face on the table. This is a happy day, why are you crying? Hinata is looking, where is your manliness? Kiba-kun! Hinata chided him, blushing a fierce shade of red. But she didn't seem to be angry at all, instead, she was smiling brightly. 1, 2, 3. On the count of 3, all of the candles were blown out in a breath, and loud applauses filled the air. So, present time, Ino declared happily, pulling out an envelope from her pocket. This is 3 years' worth of free all-you-can-eat coupons from Akamichi Barbecue, valid forever. We all know that you have to eat something other than ramen eventually, so yeah, Choza-san has allowed us to get this for you. This is the present of Team 10 dedicated solely for you, Naruto. Hey! That's not fair! Next to her, I.M. shouted indignantly. Then she shoved another envelope into Naruto's hand. Here is 3 years' worth of free ramen coupons from Ichiraku Ramen, and we all know which one Naruto-kun likes better, any? She ended with an affectionate rub at Naruto's cheek, which reddened upon her contact. Everyone burst into laughter upon the scene, when Ino and I.M. shot death glares at each other. Now, don't fight each other here, you two, Irika chuckled. Then he put the box he was holding on the table. See, I didn't know what I should give you at all, but then I remember this. Open it, Naruto. Naruto opened the box, and gasped. This is... Inside the box was a pair of short swords. They looked old, yet bathing in the light of the room, The blades still glittered, as if someone had been polishing them every day. They were a little bit bigger and heavier than the kunai Naruto was used to, and the blades were thick and a little bit crude, but for some reason, Naruto still felt they're beautiful beyond his imagination. Holding them, even without both of his hands, Naruto could feel how easy they were to be handled together, as if they were made to be used as a pair, made for each other. He had seen them hanging on Irika's living room wall before, but had never had a chance to ask his teacher about them. They are actually my parents' engagement present, Irika explained. My father and my mother, each of them wielded one as their signature weapons in the past. They always said the sword's true power would be unleashed when they're used together, and I think in your hand they will be more useful than just sitting on my wall. Naruto felt something choke in his throat. This was such a valuable gift. He had never expected to be able to receive such a precious thing. Thank you, Irika-sensei. I promise I will treasure them, he murmured. But you will need both of your hands in order to use them, Naruto. Suddenly, Tenten's voice chimed in. It brings us to the present of Team Guy. Open it up. She put a rather large box in front of Naruto. Whoa! What's this? Naruto marveled while staring at the content of the box. At first Lee insisted in giving you dumbbells as present, the only girl of Team Guy said, shooting an annoyed glance at her teammate. But then I heard from the other girls that you lost your right arm, and I immediately thought about this. It is a replacement arm which can be controlled by chakra signals sent from your own body. Of course, it will not be able to replace your real arm completely, as it is just an artificial construct without a chakra network inside, and will definitely take some practice to get used to it. But I think it will be able to help you at least in taijutsu and daily work, at least until you get a real arm to replace your lost arm. She hesitated a bit, then continued, slightly embarrassed. Of course, this thing has been lying in the storage room of my shop for quite a long time already, as no one bothered to even look at it, but… Are you kidding me? Naruto answered her with a grin. This is the best thing ever. Now how to put it on? Tenten broke out a strange smile. Maybe you will have to ask Tsunade-sama to help you with it, because this arm is kinda attached straight to your body, so… Naruto paled. Oh my god, don't tell me, another surgery. I hate needles. Everyone burst into laughter again. Okay, now it's time for our present, Hiruzen said, putting another box in front of Naruto. This is a joint present from Team Hiruzen, meaning from me, Jiraiya and Tsunade. Pervy Sage too? Naruto looked at the Toad Sage suspiciously. Don't tell me this is the whole collection of Ika drafts just like he told me before. You did what? Tsunade roared, cocking her fist back, ready to punch. Jiraiya hastily retreated, raising his hands defensively. Hey brat, are you trying to kill me? No, this is not the drafts. How can I give something so precious to someone like you? No, this is also something very valuable, but definitely not as valuable as my draft. Leaving Tsunade pummeling the pervert to the ground, Naruto opened the box. And he blinked when he saw the content inside. What's this? This is a seal drawing brush made by the most famous toolmaker in the world, the Hokage answered. It is made from the feather of a phoenix, a very rare creature which people thought to have been disappeared for quite a long time. As a phoenix never drops a feather for anyone except if it deems the person worthy, this brush is never going to break or be damaged, and has a lot of hidden magical properties even I cannot understand thoroughly. As you are going to learn about sealing jutsu, I think this will be a very suitable present for you. Inside Naruto, Gyuki was also marveling about the brush. Wow! I've never thought I could see another phoenix feather brush in this world. The last one I've seen was that of father, and it was lost after his death. I didn't think there was another person in the world that was accepted enough by a phoenix to be able to get a feather from it. Phoenixes are honorable creatures. They never shed a feather except when they begin to die for their rebirth, and when they die, everything coming from them and around them will burst into flame, so no one could ever get anything from them. Ignoring the rambling of the seal nerd inside his head, Naruto panicked. I cannot take this, GG. This incredible brush should be used by a worthy seal master, like Pervy Sage, not someone like me. It is I who thought of getting this thing for you, brat, Jiraiya, recovered after Tsunade's beatdown, said. And although I definitely can have more use for this treasure, I don't quite need it that much at the moment, considering I'm already a seal master. You have a lot to learn in the future, and I believe someday you will be able to surpass even myself, so giving it for you is just a sensible idea, eh? Then he giggled creepily. Although I wonder what will happen if I use this brush to write Ika Ika, hehe. Maybe I'll have to borrow it from you sometimes. The next thing he knew was that he was sprawling on the ground again, courtesy of another fist coming from Tsunade. Meanwhile, Karen and Fu were scowling. How can we even top something like that? The Uzumaki girl complained. She threw a package on Naruto's laps. Here you go. The present of Team 11. Naruto opened the package and stared at the thing inside. It was a book titled Sealing Jutsu for Dummies. You might have the best brush for drawing seals, but your knowledge about sealing is still close to zero, Karen said, pointing at Naruto. And I cannot let a person bearing the Uzumaki name be a dumbass who doesn't know anything about sealing jutsu except for some meager sealing scrolls. So yeah, take this book to study and make the Uzumaki clan proud of you, she declared. Karen is always like this. Jugo facepalmed, and Fu nodded in agreement. Naruto smiled. You really are the best sister in the world. Karen Nachan. Karen's head immediately turned the shade of a tomato. But idiot. It's not because I love you or anything. What's with that tsundere reaction and everything? Kiba said, and immediately regretted his words as Karen snarled and leapt at him to choke his throat. Please don't mind Kiba-kun, Naruto-kun, Hinata smiled apologetically, and placed the box containing Team 8's present on the table. Naruto opened the box, and saw it lined up with different types of ointment and medicine. This is actually Hinata's idea, Naruto, Shino said, his mouth still hidden under the neck of his long coat. She knows that you don't usually get sick, therefore you don't bother having a medicine box in your house. That's why she asked the team and Kurinai-sensei to help her prepare this. There are medicine for all kinds of normal injury and sickness here. We hope it will help you. Yeah. Seriously, Hinata actually cares for Naruto even more than for her own teammates. If anything, I'd say Hinata is just like Naruto's wife now, Kiba grunted, finally managing to escape Karen's grasp. Both Hinata and Naruto turned the same brilliant shade of red. Kiba-kun! Finally, it's Team 7's turn. Kakashi walked up and placed a rather flat box in front of Naruto. Here you go. I think you will like this. What is this, sensei? Naruto eyed the box warily. Kakashi gave him an eye smile. The Hokage allowed me to have a week of break to prepare this. Sakura and Sasuke also helped too. It's not much, but this is every photo and picture about your parents in Konoha we could find. Naruto opened the album in the box and gasped. The faces of his parents were looking back at him from each photo. There was his dad, wearing his Hokage long coat with an awkward smile next to Kakashi, who looked rather annoyed, as if he just wanted to abandon the shot and run away. And there was his mom, holding her hands over her pregnant belly happily. Sitting next to her was a girl with face decorations similar to Kiba. There were many other pictures. Each of them featured his mother, or his father, or both of them, always with a smile on their faces. Naruto suddenly felt his cheeks wet again. His tears dropped on the photos one by one, but he ignored them. What's wrong with crying about something like this, after a whole life alone without his parents? He couldn't say a word, but everyone in the room all understood. Thank you, everyone. Good night. The party didn't end until after midnight. Naruto sighed happily after the last of his friends disappeared at the corner of the empty street. It wouldn't be far-fetched to say this was the happiest day in his life, before or after be damned. He would remember this day forever. He turned his back to go back into the house and... Hinata-chan? What are you still doing here? I thought you went home already? The timid girl was standing behind him, her index fingers poking together. In her hands was another box he hadn't seen her holding before in the party. Hinata-chan, this is... Hinata blushed brightly. Actually, this... She shoved the box into Naruto's hand rather awkwardly. Happy birthday, Naruto-kun. Naruto received the present with a blink. But didn't you give me one before, in the party? Hinata shook her head. That was a present from Team 8, Naruto-kun. This one, her blush darkened, is my own, what I made for you only. Naruto stared at the girl for about 5 seconds. And then, with a very big grin, he held the box by his teeth, as he only had one hand, then carefully opened the wrapping paper with his left hand. Inside the box was a scarf. A mere glance could show that the one who made it was someone who hadn't even had any idea how to knit until about a week ago. The color of the scarf reminded Naruto of Kurama's fur, a color which someone like Ino would gag and throw away immediately upon touching. It was obvious Hinata didn't lie when she said she made it by herself for Naruto only. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. I know it is not very beautiful, but it's the first time I knit for someone, so," Hinata said dejectedly, looking down on the ground while poking her fingers together again. But then she was surprised when Naruto immediately put the scarf on his neck. "Wow, this scarf is awesome. How do you know I like this color, Hinata-chan?" The blush immediately returned to Hinata's face. "So, do you like it?" "Of course I like it," Naruto answered heatedly. "This is the first time someone gave me something like this. It is even better than the brush Gigi and Pervy Sage gave me, even better than Irika-sensei's swords. It is the best present. I love it, Hinata-chan." A warm feeling swept through Hinata's heart. She closed her eyes, and a very bright smile bloomed on her face. "Thank you, Naruto-kun." Then she took a deep breath. "And Naruto-kun, there is something else." "What?" Naruto blinked, confused. Then he was completely taken aback when Hinata placed a gentle kiss on his left cheek. The kiss was a bit awkward, but Naruto could feel, even without activating his chakra cloak, every feeling Hinata had in her heart poured into it. The two children separated, and Naruto unconsciously raised his left hand to touch the place where the girl had just kissed him. He stared into Hinata's wide eyes, not being able to say anything for a while. Then multiple loud clapping noises snapped the two back to reality. "You go, girl!" The cheering of Ino broke the silence of the night. "I didn't even think that girl could ever find the nerve to do that," Tsunade noted, nodding at Jiraiya, who was writing furiously on his notebook. "You guys!" Naruto gaped at everyone from the party, who were hiding in the bush at the corner of the street. Obviously they had seen everything, including the endearingly cute kiss Hinata had just given him. "I wonder what Hayashi-sama would say when I show him this," Niji said, holding up a camera no one knew where he got from. Next to him, Hinata's face gradually turned a dangerously red color. Then, she fell over. "My God! Hinata-chan!" When Naruto, together with the rest of the Konoha 15, arrived at the square directly below the Hokage Tower, he wasn't surprised to see the whole population of Konohagakure had gathered there before him. After all, there had been a notice straight from the Hokage himself the other day that there would be an important announcement for all of Konoha here today. "What do you think will be announced today?" he whispered to Sasuke, who was standing next to him. The Uchiha shrugged. Not only Naruto, everyone around them was also whispering to each other about the same thing. Then every sound died down immediately when the Hokage stepped out to the roof balcony. He cleared his throat, and then, his voice, amplified hundreds of times thanks to some kind of jutsu, echoed through the air of the village. "Greetings, citizens of Konohagakure. I suppose you're wondering why I gathered you all here today." There's a murmur of agreement among the crowd. "As a Konoha citizen, I know every one of you has heard about the Uchiha massacre incident," the Hokage continued, and his voice suddenly took a downward tone. "But today, I want to inform every citizen of Konoha of the truth about the massacre, the whole truth, which will change your whole point of view about what you already knew about it." Sasuke and Naruto's eyes widened. If the Hokage decided to do what they thought he was doing. During that night, the Uchiha clan was starting a coup d'état. They were trying to make an attack from within Konoha, to take over the village by force. The silence suddenly exploded. A wave of panicked whispers spread through the crowd, and people stared at the Hokage in disbelief, in horror. Hiruzen just stared back at the crowd calmly until they had murmured themselves into silence again. Then, he continued. "The Shinobi Council didn't want me to reveal this truth. They're afraid that the weight of the truth would cause panic within the ranks of Konohagakure, and might even lead to a riot. Personally, I think they had a point. But now, I have a feeling that keeping the truth in the dark will cause more harm than good, and as such, it is not wise to hide it from the population of Konoha anymore. We have all the evidence to show that in that night, it wasn't Itachi Uchiha who massacred the whole Uchiha clan at all. Upon investigation, the Shinobi Council deduced that there was only one person who could have done that hideous work. He was someone who was so familiar and skilled with the Sharingan that he could destroy a whole clan wielding the same Jujutsu that easily, someone whose mastery of weapons, especially Kama, exceeded that of even the most powerful weapon masters we have. The Shinobi, infamous on the battlefield with the name Madara Uchiha, the one who orchestrated the attack of the Kyuubi on Konoha, and now the man behind the terrorist organization named the Akatsuki. Stunned and frightened, every face in the square was turned toward the Hokage now. Everyone was too shocked to know that the one who was considered the boogeyman of Konohagakure, the one whose power rivaled that of the first Hokage himself, was still alive and was behind the whole massacre of the Uchiha clan, and the terrifying attack of the Kyuubi 12 years ago to boot. There were many whispers and shouts of disbelief, and Naruto suddenly had a hot, sick feeling in his stomach. He threw a quick glance at Sasuke, and was surprised to see the young Uchiha not showing any hint of anger or sadness. The Hokage raised his hand. The whispers and shouts died down immediately. There is, of course, someone else who must be mentioned in connection with the Uchiha massacre, he went on. Of course, I'm talking about Itachi Uchiha, the one who was wrongly accused of being the culprit. Everyone turned their eyes toward Itachi, who was standing behind the Hokage, trying his best to avoid the stares aiming at him. At that time, Itachi was assigned the mission of executing the masterminds of the coup. He accepted it willingly, and thus had to, literally, sacrifice his own family, who was the ones leading it in the first place, for the sake of this whole village. And after the incident, he had worked undercover in the Akatsuki and had given us clues and information about the organization, and that of Madara Uchiha himself, which were the things that led us to the conclusion about the real culprit of the incident. And recently, he rescued Naruto Uzumaki from the hand of the Akatsuki after he was captured during his mission. He showed, in every aspect, the utmost loyalty that few shinobi have ever shown for the village of Konohagakure, and for this, I honor him. The square returned to solemn silence again. Everything which had just been dumped on their heads was just too much for the citizens of Konoha to even have a reaction. What I want to say is, the Kyuubi incident, the massacre of the Uchiha clan, the invasion of Odogakure, and now, the kidnapping of Naruto Uzumaki, are only the start of a potentially dark and difficult time for Konohagakure and the whole shinobi world. Some of you standing in this square today have already suffered from the wars before. Many families have been torn asunder. I'm sure you understand what would happen if another war broke out. And when that time happens, and I mean when, not if, I sincerely hope you will fight for what is right, not for your dark and selfish desires. Good job, Naruto, you're starting to get it. Awesome. The artificial arm, which had been grafted into place successfully, shot up and punched Naruto in the face. Oh. I told you have to maintain the control of your chakra. Sakura scolded him. If you lose control, your movement will go haywire, just like that. You have to let it flow into the arm in small trickles. After the surgery, Sakura was the one who volunteered to train Naruto in using his new arm properly. After all, she was the one with the best chakra control of the Konoha 15, and Naruto's teammate, therefore, it was understandable. But now even she was starting to lose her calm with failure after failure from Naruto. He just had too much chakra, and he could rarely keep his mind calm enough to keep the arm's movement in check. Well, just consider this a training of your mind, brat, Tsunade, who had just walked into the room, said. I have only met you for a few months, but I can already see you have some kind of problem. ADHD, perhaps? Naruto groaned. I dunno what that ADHD is supposed to mean, but I have a feeling you're mocking me, Ba-chan. Putting that aside for a while, Tsunade waved him off. There is something I want to tell you, Sakura. Sakura's heart skipped a beat. Was the legendary Kunoichi saying what she thought she was saying? Tsunade sighed. Oh well, this might come back to bite me in the ass, but well, I decided to make you my apprentice. Awesome! Naruto beamed, slapping Sakura at the back with his left hand, while his right arm shot to the sky once again. I told you that she would accept you, Sakura. Now you are the apprentice of a legendary Sannin. Meanwhile, Sakura's mind seemed to be in a trance. She had dreamed of this day for months, and now it was going to become the truth. But she still hesitated. But I couldn't help you with Naruto's surgery as you told me, Tsunade-sama. Tsunade waved her off. Who cares about that stupid surgery? The important thing is, you already showed me that you have the heart and the will to help, to protect people important to you. That's all I need to know. Then she smiled sadly. To be honest, you remind me of myself when I was young. At that time. Oh well, forget it. What matters is, do you agree to be my apprentice or not? Sakura nodded hastily. Oh, of course I do, Tsunade-sama. It's my honor to be your apprentice. Tsunade smirked. Then you'd better prepare yourself, because my training is not going to be gentle at all, do you understand? Yes, Master. Naruto Uzumaki, the Hokage and the Shinobi Council want to meet you. Please follow us. Naruto blinked. Gigi wanting to meet him was one thing, but why did the council want to meet him? And what was so important that they had to ask the ANBU to come to escort him? He asked tentatively. Why do they want to meet me so much that they have to ask you guys to come to fetch me? That's not within our freedom to talk about. Please come with us immediately, or there will be consequences. Gee, talk about stuck-up assholes, Chomei snarked in Naruto's head. Naruto gulped and nodded. Just what the hell was going on here? When Naruto arrived at the conference chamber, he was surprised to see that he wasn't the only one who was summoned. In the room, there were the other members of Team 7 and Team 11 too. Seeing Naruto walking into the room, Hiruzen smiled. Ah, Naruto, finally you're here. Good, come in and sit down so that we can start. What's going on, Gigi? Naruto asked right after sitting himself down. What happened that made you call 2 teams here? Is there something wrong? Naruto Uzumaki, you will address the Hokage as Hokage-sama in front of the council, Hamura Midokado, sitting next to the aforementioned man, scolded the Jinchuriki. Hiruzen just smiled and waved him off. Just calm down, Hamura. Our purpose today isn't to scold him for something he has done since he was a little baby, right? The council member reluctantly relented. Actually, Naruto, today we call you 2 teams here because we have something important, related to your future. This is actually a proposal, from the Shinobi Council themselves. Koharu, if you might? The only female member of the disbanded Team Tobirama stood up from her seat. Indeed. The matter we're discussing today is related to you, Naruto Uzumaki, and you, Fu. She pointed at Fu, who let out a surprised squeak. Me? But I have just joined Konoha for less than 2 months. The old woman nodded. Indeed. And that's one of the problems. You see, we know that as Jinchuriki, you 2 possess tremendous power. But it seems that is still not enough. Recently Naruto Uzumaki was kidnapped when he was healing in the hospital. Even though he was not in his full power, that was still something unacceptable for a Jinchuriki. With that level of skill and power, there is no way you 2 can defend yourself against the Akatsuki if they decide to attack the village. Listen here, you old hag. Karen started standing up from her seat angrily, but Enko's hand suddenly grabbed her shoulder, pushing her down. She turned back to her sensei, but the snake mistress's eyes somehow made words choke in her throat. The old woman continued. That is why the Shinobi Council, approved by the Hokage, has a proposal for you 2. The training of you 2 with Kakashi Hatake and Enko Mitarashi still doesn't seem to be enough. That is why, starting from next week, you 2, together with Jiraiya of the Sannin, will depart in a training journey for the next 3 years. During this time period, the council will expect you to train with your best effort, and reach the level of at least a Jonin when you return to the village. This will be an A-rank mission assigned and paid by Konohagakure and the Shinobi Council themselves. The Hokage already gave his approval for this, but do you 2 accept the mission? The declaration of the council representative made Naruto and Fu unable to say anything for a while. Then, the female Jinchuriki asked, if we accept, what will happen to Team 7 and Team 11? You don't have to worry about that, Fu. This time, it was the Hokage himself who answered her. Now that Sasuke has advanced to Chunin, he is more than capable of taking missions and training alone. During the time you and Naruto are absent, Sakura will work together with the 2 remaining members of Team 11 as Team Kakashi, under the lead of both Kakashi and Enko, while also training with Tsunade as her apprentice, until you return, or the team advances to Chunin by themselves. Naruto frowned. This was actually happening just like during his time, when he departed for his training with Jiraiya. The only different thing was that this time, there was another person coming together with them. You don't have to give us your answer immediately, Hiruzen continued. I will give you 2-3 days to think about this. This is a very important decision, and I understand you need to be careful with the choice you make. Consult your teammates and sensei if you want to. I believe that they should also have a voice about this. Naruto and Fu looked at the other members of Team 7 and Team 11. They also seemed to be surprised about the sudden proposal from the council, but seeing the 2 Jinchurikis look, they all smiled and nodded in approval. Naruto and Fu looked at each other and nodded. We don't need 3 days, Gigi, Naruto said. Our decision is. The Konoha 15, together with the Hokage, Tsunade and Jiraiya were standing in front of the gate leading out of Konoha. Today was the day Naruto and Fu had to depart with Jiraiya for the 3-year training trip. Even though she had prepared herself mentally for this trip, when the day came, Fu still couldn't hold her feeling back. The days in Konoha were actually the first days of her life she had people who called her friend. And now she had to leave them after only 2 mere months. Fu rarely cried. But when she had to cry, she cried like a baby. There, Karen hugged her, patting her on the back to calm her down. It's not like we won't meet each other again, right? It's only 3 years. But, Fu bawled, unable to stop herself. Meanwhile, Hiruzen and Tsunade were talking with Jiraiya. You know what you must do during this trip, Jiraiya? The Toad Sage nodded. There was no trace of his usual jolly expression on his face. I know, Sensei. I promise when we return, you will not see the old Fu and Naruto anymore. Then he had to take a step back when he saw Tsunade's fist in front of his face. If they bring a baby or 2 back home after the trip, you'd better be prepared, because I will castrate you with my rustiest kitchen knife, then heal it and castrate you again. Understand? Jiraiya gulped. Meanwhile, the Konoha 15 were talking with each other. I'll miss you very much, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, hugging Naruto. Since after the incident the other night, it seemed the shy girl's courage was improved a lot. Naruto didn't know why, but he had a disturbing feeling that the blackmail photo Niji had taken had something to do with it, somehow. Finally, after a while, Hinata let him go. Her face was still a little bit pink. So, I guess this is goodbye for now, Naruto said, awkwardly scratching his head. It would seem so, Shikamaru grinned. Good luck on your training, Naruto. Silence fell between the rookie shinobi again. Then, Naruto took a deep breath and said, There is something I think you guys should know about. My team and Team 11 already knew about it, but you guys haven't, so, the truth is, the 2 of us, me and Fu are. You 2 are containers of tailed beasts? The sudden question from Shikamaru startled Naruto. You knew? The Nara genius shrugged. I didn't know about Fu, but when you said the 2 of you, I kinda figured it out. And about you, it's quite easy to link everything up, especially with your birthday, and the fact that parents in the village usually don't want their children to get close to you. Naruto's face fell. But, if you already knew about that, why? Didn't we stay away from you? This time, it was Kiba who snorted. Oh please, Hinata told us about your problem a long time ago already. The aforementioned girl reddened. But why should we stay away from you anyway? You are a good friend, an excellent crime partner. Without you, many pranks we did during our academy year wouldn't have been succeeded. Naruto was stunned. But Gai-sensei once told me that it is our choices that show what we truly are, not our abilities, our bloodline or anything like that. Niji walked up. I didn't believe it at first, but after fighting Hinata-sama and your teammate in the Chunin exam, I had to change my view. You might be the one holding the QB inside you, but whether you become like the QB or not is that of yours to choose. And whether you should be our friend or not is always our right to decide. If after everything we did for you and you still don't want to accept our friendship, it would be a very big insult to us. But Naruto bit his lips. The enemy I'm going to face is Madara Uchiha of all people. He is the most powerful shinobi in history, and who knows what he can do if he comes at me at his full power? Then we just need to train ourselves to the point we surpass even him, Lee said simply, giving Naruto his trademark thumb up. There is no such rule that a normal shinobi cannot surpass a powerful genius. Didn't you and your team already prove that? No matter how powerful he is nothing against our burning flame of youth. You don't have to worry about us, Naruto. Sasuke, who had been silent the whole time, now raised his voice. Don't even think that during your 3 years of training we're just going to sit here and do nothing. I swear to you, when you return from your training, I will be stronger than you. Believe it, he added Naruto's catchphrase at the end as an emphasis. The doubt and hesitation in Naruto's mind faded. He smiled, raising his left hand in a fist. Are you sure you can keep that promise? Of course I can, Dobe. Sasuke also smirked, bumping his own fist against Naruto's. Then Naruto remembered something. Hey, speaking about that, Gigi said that you would be acting solo after we leave, right? So who are you going to be training under? Sakura was accepted as Bachan's apprentice, but Sasuke just gave him a mysterious smirk. Who knows? After all, it's not like the legendary Sannin are the most powerful shinobi in Konoha, right? Naruto blinked. What's that supposed to mean? Alright, you two, it's time to go, Jiraiya declared, grabbing Fu and Naruto's shoulders. Naruto turned back and smiled at his friends, who were still looking at him with the same very bright and encouraging smile. Well then, see you all in 3 years, everyone. He waved at the rest of the Konoha 15. I promise the next time I'm here, I won't let anyone else disappointed. Me too. Fu also waved cheerfully. I will make a lot more friends during our travel. Everyone kept waving at the 3 departing people until they disappeared at the horizon. All of them knew that this farewell isn't something to be sad about, but a gate for all of them to open up a new future, for Konohagakure, and for the shinobi world. Now, said Hiruzen, his eyes twinkled at Sasuke, it's time to prepare ourselves for the upcoming Kage Summit, and then. Sasuke grinned. Chapter 31, Return Once More. It was a very beautiful day in Konohagakure. The sun wasn't too bright, but was still more than enough to bathe the whole village in her warm, vivid light. Sometimes, a light breeze swept through the air, bringing the aroma and petals of sakura blossom across the streets. An ideal weather for an outdoor picnic, or hanging out at the park. But everything was just trivial to Sakura Haruno. Since after Naruto's departure, Sakura had buried herself in studying and training with her new master, Tsunade. And in just the time of 1 year, she had become the youngest qualified medic of Konohagakure during the last 20 years, and was the most promising candidate for the position of head medic after Tsunade retired in a few more years. The young girl walked out of the operation room, wiping her forehead with the sleeve of her blouse. The surgery today had been a very serious case. Had the patient arrived at the hospital just 1 hour later, he would have died from blood loss. That's enough for today, Sakura. You can go home and get a rest. At the corner of her eyes, she saw Tsunade coming toward her with a smile. She answered with a tired smile of her own. It's all right, master. I still have more than enough energy to work until my shift ends. Tsunade shook her head. I said enough is enough, Sakura. Besides, you already forgot what day today is? Sakura blinked, confused. And then she remembered. Ah. Naruto and Fu are supposed to be home today. It's been 3 years already, eh? I really miss my friends. Hee hee, but this place still hasn't changed a bit. I want ramen. Seriously, you brats. The 3 figures wearing straw hats stopped in front of the gate leading into Konoha. The gatekeepers, Izumo and Kotetsu, were immediately alarmed. Halt! Who are you, and what reason are you going to Konoha for? Wait, you are. Seriously, you guys, the younger man among them chuckled and reached for his hat. You can forget even someone like me? The hat was thrown to the sky, and he disappeared. A pair of feet landed on top of the tallest electric pole of the market venue of Konohagakure. Good day, Konoha! Naruto Uzumaki is back. Damn, I'm hungry. I really need some ramen right now. Jiraiya, walking next to Naruto, scowled. Seriously? Is the only thing you care about in Konoha ramen, Naruto? Fu, walking next to them, raised her hand helpfully. I want ramen too. The Toad Sage facepalmed. What the hell have I taught them in the last 3 years? The 3 had just arrived in front of Naruto's beloved Ichiraku ramen. The blonde Jinchuriki flipped the curtain up and walked into the shop. Hey old man. I'm back. Hope you haven't forgotten what I like to eat. Tucci looked up from the counter, and a smile immediately bloomed on his face. Ah. Naruto. And Fu too. Finally back, eh? Yeah. Naruto answered enthusiastically, jumping on a stool. Some ramen, please, old man. Anything. 3 years not allowed to eat your ramen is too much for me already. The ramen chef laughed when Fu and Jiraiya settled themselves on their own stools. Of course, of course. There is no way I can forget what you like to eat. Everything will be ready in a few minutes. As the Ichiraku chef disappeared behind the curtain leading into the kitchen, Jiraiya took a quick glance at other people sitting in the store. The chef's daughter, Ayam, wasn't there. She must have been going out for grocery or something. But he was a bit surprised when no one else in the shop even showed any noticeable reaction upon Naruto's entering. So at least citizens of this village still have a head to think. He smirked. The days in Konoha were going to be much better days for Naruto in his life. Sorry for the wait. Please enjoy. Finally! My ramen! It's finally, Naruto said, drooling at the steaming bowl which had just been set in front of him. But then, he realized that something was wrong, here. He looked up, and realized he was looking into a pair of red eyes. 4 pairs of eyes looked at each other in the span of exactly 5 seconds. Ayahawk! Why is Itachi here? Naruto jumped out of his stool and screamed, pointing at Itachi Uchiha, who was standing in front of him, in a cooking apron. The man in question only raised an eyebrow. So what if I'm here? He answered as if there was nothing more obvious in this world. I cannot work as a shinobi anymore, so what's wrong with me working here? But you... Itachi, ramen, cook? Fu looked at Naruto, who was gaping like a fish next to her. I think you broke him, Itachi-san, she said. At that moment, the curtain leading into the shop was pulled open again. I knew I could find you here, Naruto. Naruto turned to the entrance of the ramen shop, and his face brightened. Sakura! The aforementioned girl grinned, and pulled him into a bone-crushing hug. So you finished your training, eh? Naruto nodded while sucking in his string of noodle. Yup. And I must warn you, I'm way stronger than before. Now I'm not scared of anyone, even Madara himself. He boasted. What did I tell you about bragging, Naruto? Naruto scowled mentally. Oh, come on. It's rare to have a chance like this. At least let me have a time for myself. Koko in Naruto's head huffed. Fine, but don't come to me crying when something happens. Oh, really? Sakura exclaimed. Then she suddenly broke out a devious smile. But you should prepare to be scared of us, Naruto. Really? Oh, you have been training with Bachan too, right? Naruto blinked. Sakura smiled. Yeah, but that's not everything. Everyone else of the Konoha 15, after you left for your training trip, also pushed themselves to surpass their own limit over and over. Right now, everyone already advanced to Chunin, and some, like the whole team Guy and Shikamaru, had already reached special Jonin of their specialty. Actually, Niji could have gone for full Jonin already, but he just refused the promotion again and again, saying that he needed to gather more experience first. And to be honest, I was surprised when Shikamaru decided to accept his promotion to special Jonin, considering how lazy he is. Naruto's mouth formed an "Oh, wow, that's incredible. So what about you and Sasuke?" "Oh, us?" Sakura's nose pointed to the air. "We're already Jonin." Silence. "What? So now I'm the lowest ranking shinobi of Team 7? Yup," Sakura said cheerfully. "And since you already returned, you'd better reach Jonin quickly, because we're not gonna wait for you to catch up to us." She ended her sentence with a wink. Naruto was dumbfounded for a few seconds, and then, his surprised face disappeared, replaced by a confident smile. "Just wait for it. I will catch up to you too so soon you won't be able to realize it, believe it." "Yo, GG. We're back." The third Hokage raised his head from the paperwork he was doing, and smiled. "Ah, Naruto and Fu. Welcome back. How was the training trip? Brought any baby home yet?" From 3 different directions in Konoha 3 what? Of outrage echoed through the air. The 2 Jinchuriki turned bright red. Hokage-sama. We're not like that. Fu exclaimed, mortified and embarrassed. Hiruzen laughed. I'm kidding. But seriously, I hope the trip was not a waste. Did you 2 get any stronger than before? Of course. This time, it was Naruto who answered. We traveled across the whole elemental continent, learned a lot of jutsu, met a lot of cool people in all the lands, and our relationship with our tailed beast friends is better than ever. Now we're not afraid of anything, believe it! He pumped his fist to emphasize. The Hokage's eyes twinkled. Then it's all right if I give you 2 a test, right? Bring it on. I'm not afraid of any stupid test. Naruto pumped his fist again. Then his face suddenly fell. Except if it is a written test like before. Hiruzen chuckled. That's something we will leave for later, he said, to Naruto's horror. But an important ability a Jonin needs to have is fighting many enemies of equal or higher skills at the same time. Therefore, the first test I will give you 2 would be a 2-on-1 battle between you and 2 Jonin of my choice. And I assure you, they will be nothing like the opponents you have faced so far. Are you up to the challenge? The 2 Jinchuriki glanced at each other, and the same confident smirk appeared on their faces. Of course we're always ready for any challenge, Hokage-sama. Fu said, punching her right palm with her left fist. The Hokage smiled, satisfied. Good. Then, Naruto, tomorrow at 8 o'clock, you will meet me at Training Ground 7. Fu, you will go to Training Ground 11, and we will conduct your test there. That's all for today. You can go home to rest and prepare now, or go meet your friends if you want. I'm sure they will be thrilled to meet you too after such a long time. Now dismiss. Sir. After Naruto and Fu had disappeared behind the door, Hiruzen turned to Jiraiya. You were their master during the training trip. How strong do you estimate them to have become? The Toad Sage shook his head. I think you will have to see it yourself to know, Sensei. There is only one thing I can say, is that just like I told you before we left, when you look at them fighting, you won't even see the old Naruto and Fu in them anymore. Karen Nei-chan, I'm home. A loud crash, and the girl ran out of the kitchen, and engulfed her foster brother in a big hug. It's so good to finally be outside again. Goku stretched and yawned loudly, before throwing his body on the sofa in the living room. No one in the room argued with the ape-man on that one. Sure, Naruto's mindscape was not bad, but 3 years having to stay in there without even a chance to get out was just too much for anyone, human or tailed beast. Having a real body in the real world is just completely different, nothing else can compare. No wonder why Kurama and the other tailed beasts were so pissed being sealed inside Jinchuriki. So, what did you guys do during your trip? Karen asked when setting a glass of apple juice, the drink Naruto had taken a fondness of after traveling back in time, to the table. Naruto, of course, grabbed the glass enthusiastically and took a big gulp. Oh, a lot of things, he said after putting the glass down. We traveled across the land, searching far and wide. Oh. What the hell was that for? Karen calmly retracted her fist, which had just landed on Naruto's cranium. That's for ripping off Pokemon, idiot. Now, go straight to the point. Naruto rubbed the place where he had just been punched in annoyance. Geez, you really don't know what a joke is. But seriously, during the trip we did go searching for a lot of things. We also managed to reach the ruins of the destroyed Yuzushiogekyu, you know. Karen's mouth turned into an O. Really? How was it? Did you find anything there? She asked in thrill. Naruto shrugged. Not much, since almost everything of the village was destroyed already, remember? But here, I managed to bring back something I think you will like. He pulled out a sealing scroll from his weapon pouch, opened it up, then unsealed the content. A very thick, very big book the size of half the table popped out of the scroll in a puff of smoke. Karen grabbed the book, and gasped. Uzumaki's Hidden Sealing Arts. Naruto, do you know how valuable this book is? Many seal masters in the world have been hunting for it, including Orochimaru. How did you? Naruto shrugged again. Yeah, I know. Found it in a secret room below the ruins. I really didn't want to, but Pervy Sage forced me to learn everything in it by heart, so yeah, I don't really need it much by now. You just keep it to learn, Karen-chan. And don't worry about protecting it. I've sealed it up so that only people with Uzumaki bloodline can open it, so for now, only the two of us and maybe Tsunade-ba-chan can have any use for it. Karen stared at the book in front of her in awe. Having stayed with Orochimaru, she had heard about this incredible treasure countless times, but to be able to actually hold it on her hands. Then remembering something, she turned to Naruto. You said you learned it by heart? How in the world can you remember something like this? She pointed at the huge book with a trembling finger. By heart? It's like thousands of sealing jutsu written in here. Naruto just shrugged again. Shadow clone jutsu, of course. Karen facepalmed. Sure, any problem which can't be solved by one shadow clone can be solved by a lot of shadow clones, at least to this blonde brat. Then she blinked. Wait, that means you can use ninjutsu without your right hand? How is that possible? Naruto just gave her a mysterious smile. Oh, there are still many things you haven't known about me, Karen-chan. Right at that time, the doorbell rang. Oh, seriously? We've just been outside for 5 minutes. Shikaku complained. Well, I guess it's time for us to return, eh? Aisabu yawned, and the tailed beasts disappeared in puffs of smoke, leaving only Karen and Naruto in the room. I'll take it. Naruto jumped out of his chair and walked to the front door. He grabbed the doorknob with his left hand, twisted it open, and heard a loud gasp. Then, his vision was covered in a mop of silky black hair. Yeah, I miss you too, he murmured, hugging back the girl who was crushing his ribs while crying heartily. Hinata-chan. After that, Naruto and Hinata were kicked out of the house by a giggling Karen, who said something about having to start reading her precious book and that the two of them should go for a date to make up for 3 years not meeting each other, much to Naruto's rage and Hinata's squeaks of embarrassment. Therefore, now they're walking in the park near the Hyuga clan compound, hand in hand, just like a real couple. Poor Hinata was on the verge of fainting from blood rushing into her head. But that's understandable, as Naruto was also a blushing wreck at the moment. Yeah, 3 years of being taught about romantic love by Jiraiya, of all people, finally managed to bash the concept of love into the skull thicker than a coconut of the boy. Good for him. At least now he didn't think romantic love to be the same as ramen love anymore. Walking next to Hinata, Naruto finally had the chance to look at the girl up close. Before, even in his timeline, he could never get this close to the Hyuga girl without her fainting or they being in a huge battle. And his blush deepened when he realized how beautiful the girl in front of him was. Hinata wasn't someone who liked to dress up, like Ino or other girls. But even without any makeup on her face, Naruto could still feel a serene beauty coming from her. Maybe it was because of her pearly eyes, which always holds the same gentle, caring look. Or maybe it was because of the scent of lavender sent to his nose every time a breeze swept across. Or maybe it was the long, silky black hair flowing down her shoulders. Or maybe it was what even the thick, figure-hiding jacket she always wore couldn't hide, her voluptuous D-cup. Gah! Bad Naruto. You cannot think of Hinata-chan like that. Ah, our Naruto-kun is growing up Matatabi-kun in his head. But seriously, is there even a man in this world not thinking of her like that? Goku added in. I mean, just look at her. That pair of soft, bouncy mellow. Shut you up. To stop his utter embarrassment, Naruto turned to Hinata. Hey, Hinata-chan. So how was it during the 3 years I was gone? It must be awesome, huh? Ha! Upon finishing his sentence, Naruto immediately felt like to slap himself. With him away from Konoha for 3 whole years, there's no way she could feel awesome about it. Right? You are overestimating yourself too much there, Naruto. But contrary to what Naruto thought, Hinata answered him with a gentle smile. Well, I have learned a lot during the 3 years from Niji Nizan and father, and well, even though I am still not as good as Niji Nizan, I still managed to reach Chunin, so I'm sure that if anything happens I won't be a helpless girl who always has to depend on you, Naruto-kun. Naruto stared at Hinata in awe. Not only had she become more beautiful during the 3 years, she had also grown much more confident in herself. Naruto dared say that she's now anything but the doormat she had been a few years ago. Having a date 5 minutes after arriving home? You sure got bold after those 3 years, Naruto. Naruto nearly jumped out of his clothes upon hearing the voice right next to his ears. I know. When did you get here? And how? Oh, maybe because you paid too much attention to your precious Hinata-chan to notice anything else about you. Kurama snarked in his head. Yep, that's me. The girl in question grinned cheekily, flashing a peace sign at him. Then she licked her lips in a naughty way. And you look much yummier than 3 years ago, Ino-san. Hinata protested in a voice that could be considered half a shriek. Ino laughed. I'm kidding, Hinata. I'm not going to steal your boyfriend. This part gained her another squeak of protest from the poor Hyuga girl. After all, I already had one, remember? Naruto blinked. Wait, you already had a boyfriend? She has been dating Jugo for about 2 years already, Shikamaru, the one next to Ino, said. Seriously, that guy is just unreasonably nice. I swear I can't even believe he used to work for Orochimaru. So Choji, the last member of Team 10, butted in with a bright smile. To celebrate Naruto and for coming back, let's go to my family's restaurant. We should invite everyone else, too. They're also eager to meet you too. Naruto laughed. Awesome. I'm still keeping the coupons you gave me 3 years ago. Hope they still work. Of course. We at Kimchi Barbecue always welcome you. So you're finally home, boss. Naruto blinked at the sudden interrupting voice. Huh? Then the whole park was covered in smoke. Wah, what the? Naruto coughed out. From inside the smoke screen emerged 2 human figures. Behold, the ultimate man-slaying jutsu, the most perfect, powerful form of the sexy art. Sexy, girl-on-girl jutsu. The smoke cleared, and nosebleeding ensued. Naruto facepalmed when he saw the figures of naked Hinata and Ino straddling each other in a very provocative way in front of him, with Shikamaru and Choji lying on the ground unconscious in puddles of their own blood. Konohamaru. Konohamaru gave him a smirk when the two female figures disappeared, leaving the original boy in a cloud of smoke. Ha ha! How about that, boss? During the time you're away from Konoha, I have developed your sexy jutsu into a whole secret art. Naruto gaped. What? That's right. The grandson of the Hokage pumped his fist triumphantly. With my sexy arts, I can defeat virtually anyone as long as I have the time to prepare. That's true, but that's not something to use on allies, little brat. Naruto snapped his head back, and his eyes widened when he saw the one who had just spoken. You are Iruka-sensei. And Crazy Snake Lady? Anko, the owner of the voice, answered him with a cheeky grin and a wagging finger. Lust is one of the most basic and dangerous emotions of a human being that can be exploited in battle. It can defeat even the most powerful and experienced shinobi if used in the right way. But that's also why you cannot use that jutsu when fighting together with your allies, because it might incapacitate even your comrades while not causing any harm to your enemies. And that means you're dead. Understand that, brat? Don't mind Anko, Naruto. She's always like this when it comes to her profession, Iruka chimed in with a smile. Anyway, you seem to be way more powerful than the last time I met you, HM? Have you made good use of my present? Of course I have, sensei. Naruto pointed at his own chest with his thumb proudly. Just wait until tomorrow. I will show you how powerful I have become after my training. Then Naruto noticed something else. On Anko's right ring finger and Iruka's left one lay a similar small, golden object. His eyes widened. You two are married? Iruka scratched his head and smiled apologetically. Yeah, after you left about a year. I'm sorry you couldn't be there for the wedding, but Anko insisted so strongly And I was their ring bearer, boss. Konohamaru chimed in. Ah, right, honorable ring bearer brat, Anko suddenly spoke up with a, cheerful smirk. Another lesson for you. Never use the shapes of women standing right at the scene in front of you to perform your jutsu, and if you had already done that, you should have run away with all your speed right after using the jutsu. Huh! Suddenly killing intent filled the park. The sound of birds squawking in fear and flying away from the trees could be heard even from the Hokage monument. The temperature of the air abruptly dropped about 20 degrees. Konohamaru and Naruto turned their backs, only to face Ino and Hinata, who were donning the same utterly sweet smile on their faces, but the deathly aura coming off them clearly showed that there was nothing good about it. Sorry, Konohamaru, but this is what you brought to yourself. You'll have to face it without me. What? Konohamaru could only exclaim in outrage when Naruto disappeared in a whoosh. Boss! How can you betray me like that? Then a few seconds later, screams could be heard echoing through Konohagakure. Everyone! For Naruto, for his return. Here, here. Naruto put his saucer down on the table and wiped his mouth. Damn, this sake is good. Since when have you learned to drink sake, Naruto? Sakura eyed her teammate in annoyance. You're just 16, for Kami's sake. Naruto just shrugged. Blame pervy sage. During the 3 years, he forced me to learn how to drink, and for some reason I never get drunk, too much anyway. But it is still something good to heat my body up, I have to say. Next to him, Lee said in awe. Wow, sounds incredible, Naruto-san. I think I should try sake myself sometime. No! From the other side of the table, Tenten, Niji, and Guy jumped up at the same time, terrified looks clear on their faces. Everyone laughed, while Lee shot an annoyed glare at his teammates. Finally, Naruto wiped his eyes and sighed. It's so great to be home, sitting next to everyone like this, but where is Sasuke anyway? I haven't seen him for a whole day. Sasuke-kun is going on a mission, but he's set to be back tonight, Sakura answered him. Just wait until tomorrow, any? He also wants to see you a lot, you know. Naruto closed his eyes. He didn't want to admit it, but the truth is, he had been waiting for this day for a long time. Even after Sasuke and everyone else told him that he didn't have anything to worry about them, oh hell, how could he not worry? 3 years had gone in a flash, and now he's home, but the most important person in his life, the friend he did everything to redeem and bring back during his timeline wasn't. So how were you guys during the last 3 years? He picked a well-done slice of beef from the grill up and changed the subject. We trained, Niji said simply, to the disappointment of both Naruto and Fu. Everyone else facebound. Surely that's not everything you did during those 3 years, isn't it? Fu asked. I heard your team all reached Special Jonin, so you must have done a lot of awesome missions and things, right? Actually, we did have our things to do during that time, Ino nodded, taking a big gulp from her glass of juice. Remember before you left, Hokage-sama declared that he's taking a group of A and BU named Root into the force. Well, turned out they're actually real, and the Yamanaka clan had taken the mission to rehabilitate those Root guys. It's horrible. Working with them was just like working with a pile of rocks. They don't even seem to have a tiny bit of emotion. Such a shame, some of them are so handsome, she complained loudly while placing her glass on the table, a little bit more forcefully than necessary. Are you really saying that in front of your own boyfriend? Karen deadpanned. Jugo raised his hand. I don't actually mind, though. Karen facebombed. You will lose your girlfriend for sure if you continue with that carefree attitude, Jugo. We also had a lot of interesting missions when you were away, Tenten chimed in. She pulled out something cylindrical shaped from her pouch. And from one of those missions I managed to retrieve this from a shinobi of rain. A blade made of golden chakra flared up from the tip of the object, the famous sword of the thunder god, made by the second Hokage himself, lost years ago. It's basically a treasure of Konoha, but Hokage-sama allowed me to keep it, as he said, I was the one who's the most suitable for it, she ended with a creepy giggle. Then suddenly she shuddered. But seriously, can anyone think that the crazy head interrogator has a little brother? And holy shit, I didn't even think there could be someone who's crazy and lucky enough to follow Guy-sensei and Lee's training method and become as fast as them. Ignoring Guy and Lee's HEY, Kiba started boasting. Heh! But you guys didn't have the honor of escorting a princess like us. And who knows, a princess could be a famous actress also, eh? He glanced at his teammates, and Hinata giggled softly, while Shino was still calm and stoic as always. Ooh, a princess, huh? Fu's eyes widened. Yeah. Kiba pumped his fist. We were the heroes who saved the whole land of snow from the hands of a tyrant. How does that sound, huh? Sounds like a fairy tale to me, Shikamaru, sitting at the other side of the table, snarked. Hey! Fuck you, Shikamaru! Naruto fondly looked at his friends. What they had just mentioned were all missions he had done during his past. The difference is, this time, it was his friends who completed them instead of him. Once again, he was reminded that this time he was not the only hero. So, what did you three do during the trip, Naruto? This time, it was Kakashi who raised his voice. Apart from becoming a few inches taller and having muscles, he waved his hand at Fu. Naruto smiled. Oh, we did a lot of things, you know. Outside of training, we also went around the continent, visited the hidden villages and their Jinchuriki, and warned them about the Akatsuki threat. We also helped the Mist bringing back their Jinchuriki. His name is Utakata, I think, although the stone wasn't very happy when seeing us. But meh, at least they didn't chase us out right after we entered the village anyway. Choji took a slice of beef from the grill and swallowed it in one bite. So you met other people like you, MM? What kind of people are they? Oh, they're mostly decent people, Fu answered for Naruto, while grabbing a slice for herself. As long as no one tries to bring harm to them or to their village, B-san and Yujito-san are cool, although they're usually a bit weird, especially B-san with his Enka streak, and Utakata-san is mostly very nice, but in no way should you try to mess with them. I still remember that time with the girl in the Tsuchigumo clan, she shuddered. I think I remember that one, Tenten noted. Is that the incident when someone tried to unleash a kinjutsu with the power to nuke out a whole great village in one blast? Fu nodded. That's the one. It happened when we went to search for Utakata-san by Kirigaku's request. Anyway, we managed to convince most of the missing Jinchuriki to go back to their own villages, Naruto concluded. Although Rashi wasn't very happy when we told him that he had to go back to IWA, at least now he has a village to protect him when the Akatsuki goes for him. And we couldn't find the Three Tails anywhere. Pervy Sage guessed he might not have reappeared yet after that civil war in Kiri, but Kiri promised us they would find him as soon as he finished reforming, of course in a civil way. That's a sound strategy, Shikamaru commented. If what you said and what we heard from Itachi about the Akatsuki was true, then we will need more than just the power of a single village or a single Jinchuriki to defeat them. Hokage-sama also mentioned this during the Kage summit right after you three left the village. But to think you could actually track down all the missing Jinchuriki around the whole continent when you had all the training to do. Actually, searching for the Jinchuriki is also a part of their training, Jiraiya, who hadn't said anything for a while, chuckled. In order to find them, we had to gather information from a lot of different sources. That alone managed to give them a lot of training in tracking and information gathering skills, and also when meeting the other Jinchuriki, they also learned a lot of things from them, from fighting skills to ability to control the power of their tail beasts. Suffice to say, they could grow up like they did today thanks to the meeting with those Jinchuriki. Wow, that must mean you are now vastly more powerful than even before. Naruto-san. Fu-san too. I want to spar with you too as soon as possible. Lee pumped his fist enthusiastically, flipping his bowl upside down into the grill in process as Fu and Naruto chuckled nervously. Leave sparring for later, you guys. Kiba butted in. Choji is hogging all of the meat for himself. If you don't eat now, there won't be anything else. Everyone turned back, and saw the Akimichi holding the last piece of meat above his mouth with his chopsticks. Aya! Choji, you were the one who invited us here and now you're eating everything like that? The last bite is the most sacred. Like hell I'm letting any one of you get it. While the young shinobi were bickering loudly with each other, Asuma turned toward Jiraiya. You do realize that this will piss the Akatsuki off, do you, Jiraiya-sama? How so? Kurenai, sitting next to him, blinked in confusion. But instead of Asuma, Tsunade answered. The fact that Jiraiya and the kids could track down the missing Jinchuriki means providing time and effort. Anyone else could have done it. And Jinchuriki are usually despised by citizens of hidden villages, as you already saw how Naruto and Fu used to be. Therefore, if there were anything happening to them, they wouldn't be able to expect any assistance, especially ones who were missing nin of a village. It means had it not been for Jiraiya and the kids' intervention, the Akatsuki would have been in perfect position to capture at least 3 of the Jinchuriki, and the Sanbai also, since only Kumo, us, and recently Suna still have their Jinchuriki under protection. Yeah, Asuma agreed. And that would lead them into a big problem, because now every Jinchuriki is under the protection of a great village. That might lead to them trying reckless things, like attacking a great village to kidnap their Jinchuriki. That will definitely lead to the Fourth Shinobi World War, much earlier than we have expected maybe. That's true, but I don't think we should worry about that too much for now. Everyone turned to look at Jiraiya, who had just set his saucer down on the table with a loud clack. His eyes was glimmering a proud and confident twinkle. We already thought of that problem, and had figured out a solution for it. And anyway, after 3 years with those 2 brats, I'm sure that the Akatsuki won't be able to get them easily even if they throw in all their force. Explaining is hard, you have to see their test tomorrow to understand. Report Zetsu. The plant man sprouted up from the ground. The black half's mouth twisted open in a creepy way, showing its black, pointy teeth. Naruto Uzumaki and Fu have just returned to Kanehigakure this morning. Also, Han of the Steam has been registered back to Iwagakure's shinobi force. Now it seems all the Jinchuriki have been in protection of their respective village. And the villages themselves have also tightened their security. There is little chance we can slip into one of the great villages without being noticed. Silence filled the air of the meeting chamber for a while. Then Pain asked, what about the 3 tails? Still no sign of it. But we think it is possible to find where it will reappear. It should be in a lake at the border of Kirigakure. I told you we should have captured the 5 tails before it managed to go back to IWA, or at least after it parted way with the 9 tails and its friends, yeah? But no, you just didn't listen. Deidara complained. Now we had to move the base out of Amigakure to the middle of nowhere like this. And there's no way that old coot would let it out of his sight again, yeah? Everything happened because of Itachi's betrayal. Kisame, the usually calmest member of the Akatsuki, growled in a dark tone. 2 of the things he hated the most in his life were liars and traitors. Which was ironic, considering he was the one who had backstabbed even his trusted comrades without a blink of an eye when he was still in Kirigakure. And even though Itachi was the closest one to a, well, brother in the Akatsuki, he still couldn't forgive him for what he had done. To him, right now, Itachi was just an enemy, like any other enemy in this shinobi world who needed to be destroyed. In this case we might have to resort to an all-out war if we want to capture the Jinchuriki. Black Zetsu was talking. We don't have the manpower to actually cause a Shinobi World War, Sasori pointed out. Even gathering enough people to sink with the Gedo Mazo, we couldn't do. If we want to go to war, we need at least more people first. You don't have to worry about manpower. Every eye turned towards Toby, who had just spoken those words. I have been preparing during the last 3 years, the masked man said under his mask. Now, we have at least 100,000 troops in dispose. Although they are quite weak, they can still overwhelm an army in number if necessary. 100,000? Deidara exclaimed in astonishment. Where the hell did you get so many soldiers, yeah? That's like twice the population of Iwagakure, including the civilians, yeah. I have my own source, Toby just answered idly. Now, if you want to attack, we can declare a total war on the whole elemental continent. No. Now everyone turned back to Pain, who had just declared. It's not the time for a total war yet, the Rinnegan holder said. However, you are right about one thing, it's now time for the Akatsuki to make a move. Toby, with that source of yours, can you recruit any more troops? Toby's Sharingan twinkled under his mask. Of course I can. Good, Pain nodded. Then Deidara, Kisame, Sasori, get ready to move out. Take 10,000 troops from Toby with you. Isn't that kinda overkill? Kisame raised an eyebrow. Even if they're protected in villages, if you want to capture a Jinchuriki, aren't 2 of us already enough? The fact they recalled the Jinchuriki means the villages are ready for a war with US, Pain answered in a deathly cold voice. Then so be it. If they want a war, we will give them a war. They will understand what true pain is. Hokage-sama, I have returned. Here is the report for the mission. Hiruzen smiled and took the scroll from the hand of the newcomer. Ah, very well done. I will send you the reward for this mission tomorrow morning. For now, you should go home and have a rest. After all, you will need your best for your most important mission tomorrow. On the face of the shinobi grew an excited smile. He's home? It's so great to finally be able to be with you guys like this again. Naruto exhaled in happiness while walking on the street next to his friends. Jiraiya, Tsunade and the Jonin had gone home before them, and Sakura, Niji, Lee, Tenten and Shikamaru had also left, saying that they had things to prepare for. Naruto couldn't blame them. After all, they had way more work to do now than a chunin like Naruto. Therefore, now there were only Karen, Hinata, Ino, Kiba, Shino and Naruto himself on their way back home after leaving a kimchi barbecue. The group had reached the intersection leading back to Ino, Kiba and Shino's clan compounds. So, see you guys later. Good luck on your test tomorrow, Naruto, Fu! Ino waved at the group before disappearing into her house. Kiba and Shino had also left to get back to their own homes. So, I think I have to go home now too, to prepare for tomorrow. Naruto scratched his head awkwardly. Hinata smiled. It's fine, Naruto-kun. You don't have to take me and Fusan back home. After all, the Hyuga clan ground and Fusan's apartment are both at the other side, Yeah, Naruto-kun. Remember that I've just been back from training with you. I won't let anyone hurt Hina-chan, believe it? Fu also said enthusiastically. Karen facepalmed. Seriously, Fu, of everything you could have learned from Naruto, you learned that stupid verbal tick? Hey, don't diss the... In the middle of his sentence, Naruto suddenly jerked his head up, and he immediately moved his left hand in an upward motion. 2 kunai appeared in midair and shot forward in a blinding speed, impaling the 2 birds of prey made of ink, which were flying toward the group, blending into the darkness of the night with clear intention of harming, destroying them with the utmost precision. Naruto pointed his finger at a seemingly random direction. I have sensed you since we stepped foot into this street. I was just going to wait until Hinata-chan and Fu-chan went home to confront you, but since you declared attack first, I guess I have to pull you out of your hiding place a little bit sooner. Show yourself. Instead of coming out like Naruto said, 6 other tigers made of ink appeared and rushed the group from all directions. Naruto's eyes narrowed, his left hand twitched again, ready for another projection. But before he could do anything, Hinata had appeared in front of him, her Byakugan flaring up, ready for action. And with exactly 6 quick and accurate divine shooters, the tigers became 6 puddles of ink on the ground. Hinata looked back at Naruto with a smile. Naruto grinned back at her, then disappeared from her view. Did he just teleport? No, he's just that fast. The shinobi who had just attacked was completely taken aback when Naruto suddenly appeared behind him in a gust of speed. But he wasn't an amateur either. He raised his arms up immediately to block, and Naruto's kick landed on his forearms, but was only enough to send him flying away from his hiding spot. He landed on the street unharmed. The girls behind him rushed in, but the shinobi raised his voice. "Please stop. I mean no harm. You've just attacked us," Naruto pointed out. The shinobi answered him with a fake smile under his mask. "I'm really sorry for attacking you without warning. The truth is, Lord Hokage has assigned me with the duty of protecting you in the village, Naruto-kun, and I just want to see how good you are against a sudden attack." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "So you are an ANBU? Then remove your mask and let me see your face, because I know all the ANBU in the village, and I'm sure I've never seen you before." That was just a bluff, but the masked shinobi nodded. "Ah, yes, Lord Hokage also told me about this." Then reaching towards his face, he removed his mask. "The codename I was given for this mission is Sai." He gave Naruto another fake smile, and reached out his hand. "Nice to meet you, Naruto-kun." "You can't be sorry." Karen raised her voice angrily, but stopped abruptly when Naruto readily took the shinobi's hand with a smile. "Thank you, Naruto-kun. I'll see you later." With that, the ANBU member disappeared in a swirl of leaf. "What was that for, Naruto-kun? You could have gone for him before he ran away," Fu complained, but Naruto just smiled at her. "He won't be able to do anything to me. And I know what he said was true, so don't worry, Fu-chan." He didn't see Karen and Hinata looking at the spot Sai had just disappeared from with the same wary eyes. Gaara put down his pen and let out a deep sigh. The job of a Kage was definitely hard. Paperwork after paperwork continuously piled up on his desk every day, seemingly endless, not leaving him even a few hours to rest. But Gaara loved it. This job finally gave him a purpose, a reason to live instead of mindless killing, and he felt it was his opportunity to redeem himself of everything terrible he had done in the past. Not to mention, a Kage was someone who was trusted and recognized by people. Being the Kazekage meant he was finally seen not as Shikaku the murderous-tailed beast, but Gaara of the Sand, a true shinobi of Sunigakure. The young Kazekage stood up and walked to the window. The moon was so bright, showing that the next day would be a sunny day. Well, that was a fact. Rarely was there rain in the desert anyway. Right at that time. Gaara's eyes suddenly hardened. With a very quick movement of his hand, the robe he was wearing flew out of his body, leaving him in his battle attire, ready for action. He barked into thin air. "Call Kankuro, Temari and Baki here immediately. And alert the whole village to prepare for a large-scale battle. We are being invaded." "Alright, so who are going to be my opponents today?" Naruto walked into Training Ground 7 with a boisterous laugh. The Hokage, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi and other people turned towards the blonde Jinchuriki. Naruto noted that Kiba, Shino, Karen, Jugo and the members of Team Guy weren't in the training ground. They must have been watching Fu's test, which was happening at the same time. "Ah, Naruto, you are here," Hiruzen smiled. "So, I think we can start the test now, huh? Are you ready?" "Ha! Of course I'm always ready," Naruto answered. Confidence was clearly visible in his face. He punched the palm of his left hand with his mechanical right hand. "I will take on anyone you throw at me." "But who would be those people anyway?" "That would be us." From the group of jonin watching, two figures stepped out. And Naruto's eyes widened when he realized who they were. Sakura? And Sasuke?